Hello and welcome to Six Part. Today I'm gonna continue the series What If Deku Found Out About His Multiple Wives Part 2. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
1. An afternoon in a dorm. Yori called out, "Grandma, Grandma, Grandma," as she excitedly tugged on the Inko shirt. She gave Inko the puppy dog, or kitty cat, eyes and said, "Can we please go see Dad? I want to show him my new move, please Nian." Inko questioned whether it was appropriate to attend the hero class given that they were preparing for a significant test that was approaching. I don't know, they're working on their super moves and it could be dangerous," she said. While reading a book and sipping tea at a table, Nana comforted her, saying, "Don't worry, Grandma. The teachers will be there to make sure not too crazy happens." Inko turned to face Toshi and Aoi, who were seated at a couch, and asked, "Well, what about you two?" Toshi told her, "I don't mind." Aoi responded, "Actually, I wanted to visit my mom at the support studio." As Yori continued tugging at the sleeve of her shirt, Inko thought of other options and said, "Well, MMH." As the children applauded, Inko said, Okay, just make sure you listen and follow the teacher's directions and please don't cause that much harm." As he and his younger sister excitedly ascended the stairs, Toshi exclaimed, "Cool, let's go hang out with Dad." With her arms spread wide, Inko sat on the couch and muttered to herself, "I hope they don't cause too much trouble." After a few minutes the children, dressed in their UA school uniforms, descended the elevator. As she surveyed her surroundings, Aoi remarked, "We look so cool." Toshi gave her a high five and remarked, "Yeah, we do." Yori, wearing a scaled-down version of the uniform, said, Do I have to wear this tie? It's so tight." She attempted to adjust her tie, but it didn't look good. Nana fixed it so that it wouldn't be too tight to wear, saying, "Let me fix it." Inko questioned her current eldest granddaughter, "You know how to fix ties?" "I do. Father always had trouble doing it and one of our mothers had to help him, so I eventually picked it up and started to help as well," Nana informed her. As she took out her phone to take a quick picture, Inko remarked, "Well, isn't that nice of you now? How about a picture before we get going? You all look amazing." Then, while Inko set the camera on a timer so she could join them, the children positioned themselves for a group photo. Toshi was in the back because he was the tallest, and Inko was standing beside Nana. Yori was in the front, with Nana on her left and Aoi on her right. As everyone complied with Inko's instruction to say cheese, the phone took a picture of them. Inko led the children out of the dorm and made her way to the main building, saying, "It looks really good. Okay, let's go everyone." The other students were staring at the group as they made their way to the building, wondering why they were there. As they continued toward the building, they heard the question, "Is it some sort of field trip? Are they students here? They're wearing the uniforms. Wasn't it the catgirl in the lunchroom yesterday? She looks so adorable in the uniform." To get comfort from Inko, Yori was strolling close to her. Inko drew Yori near to her and remarked, "I don't like to be noticed at IC." Yori nuzzled her head near Inko and nodded in agreement. Aoi waved to a passing student, who waved back, and remarked, "She's a bit shy and nervous when she gets a lot of attention, especially in public or around new people." As she recalled Izuku's constant shyness and anxiety around people, Inko thought, just like Izuku when he was younger. As she led them inside, Inko said, "Okay, let's head in first. We'll stop by the support studio and then to the training area. By the way, where are the two areas?" she asked, to which Nana replied, "I do. I remembered the entire campus map, follow me." However, she failed to notice a student with long, light blue hair staring at them with interest. With Melissa and Nedu, Melissa screamed, "Ah!" as she struggled to stay alive while Nedu was speeding. She yelled, "Can you please slow down?" But Nedu just laughed it off. He kept laughing as he interrupted someone and drank a cup of tea without spilling it, saying, "No way, this is the most fun I had since I was an opponent for Kaminari and Ashido." As Nedu ran a red light, Melissa prayed, "Please let me live to see another day." With the children and Inko, "Definitely not," Powerloader uttered as he stood in his studio doorway, facing Inko and the Midoriya children, with Hatsume at his rear. Hatsume pleaded with him, "But sensei, this is my daughter, come on." Pointing to Aoi, Powerloader remarked, "No, I already have my hands full handling one of you, but now that this is your flesh and blood it is bound to be a disaster." Hatsume persisted in pleading with him, "Please Powerloader, I swear I'll watch her," as he was growing increasingly irritated with her. Powerloader pondered as Nana explained, "I can say that Aoi Hatsume isn't like her mother. She's more laid back and rarely causes explosions, but most of her inventions do have a tendency to short-circuit or she'll get carried away and add more things to said inventions. Aoi poked her index fingers and looked away, trying to think of something else. What? I do not, she said. As he looked at her, Toshi said, really? Because I remember that I asked you to fix my RC car, and you did. But you gave it a jetpack, and as I started it up it left the yard and ended up somewhere in the next city and the batteries were dead. Aoi continued to look away in embarrassment, but she muttered in a low voice, well at least I fixed. When both Hatsume said, really, with excitement, Powerloader sighed and lowered his head, saying, fine, I let the girl in. Yes really but I'm keeping a very short lease on you too so Hatsume you better listen to me and do go overboard with your projects. Yes sir, she replied. And younger Hatsume, I'm going to allow you to help your mother with her projects or do you can a few personal projects, but you have to let me or your mother know about them. He concluded while saluting Aoi. Yes sir. Come on in, he said, looking defeated, and moved aside to let Aoi in. Soon after, Hatsume and Aoi entered a corner of the room and began talking about their plans. Powerloader said, after this, I'm going to need a stiff one, and shut the doors. As they soon made their way down the hallway, Inko said, well, I hope they have a good time. Come on kids, let's go pay a visit to the class. Gamma Jim Ashido was trying to expand the range of her acid, Zero was practicing new trap techniques with his tape, and Todoroki was practicing using both sides of his quirk simultaneously. All of this was happening throughout the gym as everyone was trying to think of different super moves. However, Midoriya was considering where to go with his quirk because All Might stopped by and give him advice that he was still trying to copy him. All Might's words, "You're still trying to imitate me," continued to echo in his mind as Midoriya tried to understand what All Might was saying, failing to notice his mother and children entering the gym. Curious, Aizawa saw them enter. "Hey Mr. Aizawa," Toshi said, waving at him. He questioned them, "What are you all doing here? Because anyone not preparing to be a hero would be in danger here." Well, the youngest one wanted to show Izuku a new move C came up with and the other two wanted to see if they can be of any help. Inko explained to him. "Oh, and Aoi is with Powerloader," she concluded with a nod. Aizawa informed them, "Well, this really isn't a place for small children to be around." As Yori searched the gym for her father amidst the confusion, Inko said, "I know but the little one was very persistent on want to show Izuku." Yori exclaimed, "There he is," as her quirk came to life with excitement and she dashed in his direction, leaving a trail of flames in her wake. As she headed toward the chaos, Inko worriedly yelled at her, "Yori, come back, it's dangerous." "Don't worry, she pretty much can take care of herself so she isn't in real danger," Nana advised Inko and Aizawa. "Same can go for us, we're trying to be heroes too. We ask father from time to time if he's not busy if can help train us, so you shouldn't worry about us." "Well, a grandma can still be worried though," Inko replied to her. "Okay, say I was to let you help my students, what are you going to be doing?" she replied. Gazing at Kirishima, Nana remarked, "Well, we aren't going to give them the answers but more of just pushing them in the right direction, especially the ones that need it." Aizawa considered it for a moment before nodding. "Go ahead," to them as Nana and Toshi approached the other pupils. "Are you certain about this?" Inko asked them. "Really, if it had been any other random child, I wouldn't have done it, but that girl seems to have a good attitude, so I'm going to let this once to see if any progress would be made." Inko nodded in agreement, noting that Nana appeared to be competent. As Nana put on her gauntlets, Toshi questioned, "So who are you going to be helping?" As Toshi started floating in midair, she said, "I'm going to be helping Kirishima. He and father have a lot in common than they think. What about you? Don't may help mom or someone else," she said. As he floated away, Nana said, "Well, whatever the case, do make sure you help them. You have tendency to go overboard with training." His words were, yeah, as he drifted off. Campus of Ua Melissa, who appeared to have been on a roller coaster, and Nedu soon arrived at the campus. Nedu asked, "Well, that was a fun ride, wouldn't you agree, Ms. Shield?" As she was only able to nod fearfully. As Melissa quietly exited the car, a little shaken up, and went straight to a bush to throw up in, he said, "Well, anyhow, we're in front of the dormitory you'll be staying at. So go ahead and drop your bags off in the common area and I'll walk you to meet with All Might." As Melissa continued to throw up, he took a sip from his teacup and remarked, "Poor thing, the jet lag must be kicking in." "Gamma Jim, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," Yori exclaimed as she ran in Midoriya's direction. Midoriya was still deep in thought and was unaware that his Firecat daughter was directly approaching him. Then they both fell to the ground, and Yori leapt and pounced on him. Yori was on top of Midoriya when he recovered from the fall. He questioned in confusion, Yori, what are you doing here? As they both stood back, she said, I came to show you a cool new move I came up with. Midoriya, worried for his daughter's safety, remarked, that's a great Yori, but you could at least save it for after school. It's too dangerous and in here. She puffed out her chest and said, I Nian. No, but I'm a big girl and can take care of myself. Can I show Nian, now, can I please? She asked. Sure, go ahead, Midoriya said, observing her with interest. Yori exclaimed with delight as she searched the area for a small object and discovered a tiny, circular piece of debris. As she started to balance the piece of debris with her feet, she said to her father, watch this. She continued to kick it into the air, and soon the debris was on fire. She then kicked the debris as hard as she could, sending it flying into a fragment of rock that shattered. As her father gazed at her in awe, she asked, well, what do you think cool isn't? You only learned that today, Yori, Midoriya exclaimed with excitement as she quickly nodded her head. She shrugged when he said, that's amazing how we were able to set the piece of rock on fire. Midoriya thought for a moment and noticed the fire around her ankles. Yori turned your quirk for a bit, he said, and she did. When Midoriya looked at her ankles, she noticed that they were shiny with something transparent. The rock she kicked was still whole when he walked over to it, and he saw that it was also coated in the same material. As he turned to face Yori, Midoriya said, that's it. What's it? Yori asked, tilting her hand curiously. Oh, it's that I think I found out how the flames on your tail, wrist, neck, and ankles are formed. Really, how? Yori asked, waving her tail excitedly. It seemed that you secrete a type of flammable liquid like lighter fluid, and once you keep getting the rock it got some of the liquid on it to ignite it as well. Midoriya stated that he had explained it to her. She said, wow, that's incredible. Could you help me practice it? Well, I don't know. I'm more of a puncher than a kicker, maybe we can ask Iida, he replied, heading to find the boy. As she watched her father battle with both arms and legs in the future, Yori looked at him bewildered. You're so weird, Daddy, she said cheerfully as she followed him. Alongside Kirishima, instead of going for individual punches, try and be a bulldozer and go in one move, Might advised Kirishima as he punched a wall while his quirk was activated. However, he didn't fully comprehend it. I'm more of a shield, so what did he mean by a bulldozer? As he gradually stops punching the wall, he asks himself this question. Boom! He noticed Bakugo practicing his explosions on one of the ectoplasma clones they had provided after the noise caught his attention. He remarked, man must be nice to have a flashy quirk like that, recalling his early years in middle school, when he had a hardening quirk and froze when a few of his classmates were facing a formidable villain. What am I doing here? He asked himself, recalling the hero rankings that Toshi displayed to them. He held his head in frustration and uttered the words, Arg, what am I missing? What you're lacking is self-confidence. Kirishima turned to see Nana approaching him. What? He asked, perplexed. She paused in front of my father and said, you and your father have more in common than you think. Really, me and Midoriya, but how? Kirishima crossed his arms and said to Nana, you both lack confidence in your abilities and believe that this is the best you can, but you both have so much room to grow. Really, we do. But Midoriya seems so much more determined, plus his quirk is really flashy. She told him, well, but my quirk is just a normal hardened quirk. Kirishima looked at his own hand and said, well, what about me? I'm aiming to be a hero, but all my quirk can do is just allow me to predict certain things that will happen. With a sigh, Nana moved away from him. She was a few feet away from him when Kirishima said, hey, are you going? Nana walks back to him after dragging her foot across the dirt to create a line. As she rolled her shoulders and activated the OFA portion of her quirk in her arms, creating blue lines across them, she remarked, so you saying that there's no more to quirk, then I'll just have to show you. She pointed to the line a few feet behind and said, I'm going to give you a scenario where I'm the villain and behind you are innocent civilians. That line over there is the safe zone. Kirishima said, okay, that seems simple enough, but Nana went on, but if you fall or get pushed back then the civilians died. Kirishima gulped and gave her a grim look. Oh, okay. Then, as Kirishima used his hardened quirk, Nana assumed a fighting stance and they exchanged glances. Kirishima nodded and rushed over to punch Nana when she said, ready. Kirishima aimed his punch at her, but she sidestepped it and gave him an unexpected punch to the gut, sending him flying back and colliding with the wall behind him. What happened? He moaned as he slowly stood back up, and Nana approached him. Telling him, the civilians died, Kirishima exclaimed, what, in shock, but you got me in one punch. As Kirishima gazed at Nana, he was shocked to hear her say, I was only using 4%. Kirishima responded, that was only 4%. Yep now, she said, returning to her previous position. Come on, those civilians aren't not going to protect themselves, she said, her eyes glowing bright blue with determination. It's not very manly to give up, right? You got that right, here I come, Kirishima said, grinning as he rushed in her direction. Alongside Toshi. Come on, you have to think light on your, Toshi said while hurling a flurry of rocks at Momo, Sato, Uraraka, Shiro, and Mina. As Sato punched an incoming rock into pieces, he uttered the words, "This is crazy. Uraraka, control your child," was a cry of frustration that Mina, who was using her dancing skills to dodge the rocks, let out as she nearly got struck by a flying stone. A rock was about to strike Momo's back, but Shiro used his tape to pull her away. No, we have overcome this, that's why we are training to be heroes, Momo said. Shiro said, yeah, but isn't this a little too much? While drawing Momo near to him. Toshi came over to help them train while Uraraka was anxiously avoiding a rock, but she didn't think he would go this far. According to her, that's it, as she climbed a rock pillar. When Toshi paused, she yelled, Toshi Midoriya, if you don't stop right now you're grounded, mister. What? He asked, dropping the rocks he was holding with his quirk and landing on the ground. Toshi fell to the ground and pleaded with his mother, please don't ground me, I'm so sorry. Uraraka stopped the rock onslaught, and everyone exhaled with relief. Her son was still on the ground when Uraraka floated down from the pillar she was standing on. She said, look, Toshi, I'm not going to ground you, but please just be a bit more careful, alright? Toshi nodded and gave her a tearful look. Alright, she concluded, heading to check on everyone. When the after effects of his quirk kicked in, Sato said, yeah, I'm fine, just a little bit sleepy. Yeah, we are, but I must say you took control over him real, Momo said, looking at her. I did, Uraraka said incredulously, and Shiro responded, yeah, like actually real, mom. Uraraka blushed because she hadn't been that assertive before. Jim Gamma's entrance Nedu led Melissa into the enormous building, but he left on his own after telling her he had to go take care of something. Melissa looked around and saw her Uncle Might and two other people, a taller man with long black hair who appeared extremely exhausted, and a short, plump woman with green hair who was tied into a pun. It's been a while, huh, he said, but it sure has, Melissa said as they separated from the enormous, and she looked at him. So this is what you actually looked like? She asked him, staring at his skinny form. Yep, it is, but I'm perfectly fine now, he reassured her. If you say so, she said, still getting used to this new form. Uncle Might, she said as she ran towards him. All Might saw her and ran at her as well. Young Melissa is here, he said, as they both came in for an embrace. Inko approached her and said, hello, you must be Melissa. I'm Inko Midoriya, she said, bowing to her. Midoriya, oh, you're Deku's mother, Melissa said, beginning to realize that they looked a lot alike. Oh, so you call my son that as well? She asked, nodding. Hello, I'm Shota Aizawa, he said, you'll be in my care as long as you stay in my class's dorm. As the group stared back at Nana, who had just entered carrying Kirishima's unconscious body, Aizawa pinched the bridge of his nose and asked, what happened? Progress, Nana replied, looking at her mother, while Melissa looked at the younger girl, who looked a lot like her but had green hair tips. Melissa didn't think UA would offer a course for younger children. Hello, my name is Melissa Shield, and you are, she said to the girl who was staring at her with a faint smile. Melissa said, I'm sorry, it might be the jet lag still or the Nedu driving, but I could have sure you just called me mother, as she closed her eyes and smiled. I am Nana Midoriya, daughter of Izuku Midoriya and Melissa Shield, she said as she went on. Hello, mother. She finished staring at her blankly. Huh. Nana told her, I did. Oh, I see. Melissa turned around and said, Uncle Might, Mrs. Midoriya, Mr. Aizawa, nodding to them as she made her way to the door. Young Melissa, are you okay? All Might inquired, worried about his niece. She continued to the door, saying, yeah, I am just getting fresh air, but she passed out before she could get there. Melissa, All Might yelled as he rushed to check on her. As she pulled Kirishima to lean against the wall, Nana responded, she'll be alright, it was to be expected. Inko asked, is she going to be okay? When Aizawa realized that this would cause him a great deal of headache later, he simply sighed. Dreamscape, a young woman with long blonde wavy hair in a long white beautiful dress and a sun hat to protect her from the sun's rays, stood on the shoreline of a tropical island full of lush palm trees with hanging coconuts at the top and beautiful birds flying overhead. Her beautiful blue eyes stared out to the sea as she saw a dolphin leap out of the water, and she sighed with a smile on her face, saying, perfect, as she looked down at her wedding ring on her hand. Turning around, she saw her husband Izuku calling for her from their hilltop beach house. Izuku, she said, as he also called her name, Melissa. They both hugged each other and gazed into each other's eyes. Say my name, honey, Melissa said, as Izuku looked at her and grinned. Melissa, he said to her, and she felt happy, again. Melissa, 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 he said as he spun her around in his arms, and she continued to enjoy the moment, hoping it would last. The truth, everyone was waiting in the common area for her to wake up, and Izuku kept saying, Melissa, 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 after learning that she had passed out in the gym and had been taken back to their dorms. So what happened? Aoi asked her older sister. What happened to your mother? She passed out once I told her I was her daughter, Nana said as she sat down at a table with her siblings. You couldn't just eased her into telling her, Toshi said. Nope, she told them. After opening her eyes and sitting up from the couch, Melissa soon started to stir and take in her new surroundings. She noticed that everyone she had met at Island was present. As Kirishima remained unconscious, Kaminari said, Hey Melissa, you're finally awake. From the other couch he was seated on. Melissa looked at the tables where the children were seated, particularly the blonde one, and said, What happened? That last thing I remember was seeing a little tell me I was her mother. She waved back to the children, who waved and grinned at her. Uncle Might, Deku, or anyone? Melissa asked, looking around frantically, Can someone please explain to me what's going on? Everyone else thought, Uncle Might. Aoi quickly reached into the kitchen and refrigerator using her hair to retrieve a cup from one of the cabinets and the pitcher of iced tea that had been made earlier. As she gave her the tea, Aoi said, Calm down, Mom. This should help you relax a little. As Melissa accepted the tea, she tried to pour it into her cup, but it was shaking a lot. Please someone explain, and also why did she call me Mom? She finished, trying not to freak out. I'll explain, but you might want to get comfortable, Izuku said, placing his hand on her shoulders. An explanation will be provided later. Melissa took a sip of her tea and said, So let me get this straight. So those 4 kids are from the future, and in that future not only is one of them mine and all 4 are yours, but the other 3 belong to 3 other women, she said when she was interrupted. Ochako put her hands on her hips and said, Hey, I'm one of those other women. Hatsume stood smiling beside her and remarked, And I'm one as well. Melissa looked at Deku and said, I'm sorry, adding, And we are all happily married to you, correct? As she poured herself a cup of iced tea, Nana sat beside her and said, Yes, you are. Even though your father is the greatest hero, he always finds something for each of you, Nana said. Melissa put down her cup and said, Ah, I see. After taking a deep breath, Melissa exclaimed, How is this possible? As she ran up to him and shook him by the shoulders. How did this happen? What will I tell my parents, Uncle Might? How are you so calm about this? She asked, rubbing her hair into a mess. All Might tried to think and said, Young Melissa, relax. I know this is a lot to take in, but Boot what? Melissa asked him, hoping he knew the answers. As he shrugged his shoulders, All Might remarked, I got nothing, honestly. I never been in a situation like this. As she pulled out a notebook, Hatsume added, Yeah, you should see these kids, they're amazing, especially my child. We came up with so many ideas for support gadgets today. I know this is a lot to take in, honestly. I was kinda in the same position you were in, but after a while we kinda got used to it, said Melissa, Ochako. Melissa said as she collapsed back on the couch, I don't know, it's just a lot to take in, that's all. Well, anyway, what's up with Uncle Might? Mina inquired curiously. Oh, I see, Melissa said, glancing at him. Don't worry, Melissa. It was likely going to slip as well while you were here. They were all staring at him when All Might spoke. Melissa isn't really my actual niece, but me and her father, David Shields, have history together. He's been my best friend and my sidekick in my early years of being a hero, he said as everyone was astonished. Toru exclaimed, Wow, your uncle was All Might, that's so cool. Shiro asked her, What was he like? That's so cool. Todoroki pondered for a while, attempting to refute his theories. Mineta jumped on the catch, latching onto Midoriya and violently shaking him. Why do you get the girls, you lucky bastard? She asked, continuing to shake him. Midoriya, you lucky bastard, not only you already got 4 girls in your harem, but one of them is basically All Might niece. That means you are set for life, Mineta said. Midoriya attempted to say, Mineta, please calm down. Bonk. As Mineta fell to the ground, everyone could see that Nana had struck him on the head with a bat. Aoi picked him up with her hair, carried him to the back door, and threw him out in the back. Nana said, I'll refrain you from doing that to my father. Yori did the same, throwing a blanket and pillow outside. Melissa questioned them. Is he going to be okay? Toshi assured her, don't worry about it. He'll be fine. He's quite durable. Kirishima woke up and said, huh? What happened? What I missed? He looked at the blonde and said, oh, you're that girl from my island. Nice to see you again. As she caught his attention, Mina said, Kiri. You're finally up. What happened to you? She asked. He rubbed the back of his head and recalled, well, I was training with Nana, and I guess I got knocked around a lot. He inquired, so did I miss anything? As he gazed at her, Mina informed him, well, Melissa over here just discovered she has a daughter with the class cinnamon roll and she's also All Might niece. Well, not really. As he struggled to stand up, he exclaimed, wow, that's incredible. Kirishima told her, man Nana, you didn't pull your punches. Well, of course a real villain isn't going to hold back, she said, returning to her seat with her mother, who became a little tense. As Midoriya and Ochako stiffened up and Mina volunteered with a cheeky smirk, Nana asked, you okay, mother? Sorry, I'm just still freaked out about this whole thing, she said. I think I should go lay down for a bit, she said. I'll show you, she said, grabbing the blonde's wrist and guiding her to the elevator. Wait Mina. Ashido, Deku and Uraraka looked at each other and attempted to stop her, but it was too late as the elevator doors closed and they were on their way to the top floor. Stairs? Upstairs. As they hurried up the stairs, they both nodded. As everyone watched them go, Iida commanded, no running on the stairs. I'll better go after them. That pink girl looks troublesome, Inko said as she ascended the stairs. As they heard knocking on the sliding doors at the back, everyone else thought, you have no idea. Please come back in, it's cold out here, Mineta pleaded, peering through the door's glass. As everyone went to their rooms or remained in the common area, Sue approached and closed the blinds on him. Hatsume held one of their game controllers to their console and said, so you guys want to play Uno? As Zero glanced at him, Kaminari remarked, I don't have Uno. Really, but everyone has it, it's free, he said. Well, he snapped back, I didn't get it. Upper floor. After Mina and Melissa got out of the elevator, Melissa noticed that the hallway floor had just 2 doors. Wait, why are there only 2 doors? She asked the girl with the pink skin. Well, since you have children with Midoriya, Nedu thought it would be a good idea to give a special room to him and his wives, Mina replied. And that includes you, she stated. Melissa stumbled, WHWH what, but she shouted, isn't that a little bit too soon, especially since I just go here today and found out I have a child and married. As she nearly passed out while running to the top of the stairs with Izuku, Ochako yelled, Mina, leave her alone. She was furious at her friend's antics and said, she's already freaked out about the whole child thing, she doesn't need another freak out. Mina shrugged and approached her friend, saying, what, I'm just having a little bit of fun, besides, it's not every day you get to tease someone who's in a harem. She finished as someone approached from behind and tugged at her ear, causing her to cry out in agony. As she kept pulling on the girl's ear, Inko said, now that's enough out of you young lady. Apologize right now, she insisted. As Inko pulled her to the elevator, she said, ow, okay, I'm sorry, Melissa. Good, now I'm taking you to your room and you shall stay in there for the night, Inko said sternly. Mina begged him for assistance, saying, what no fair Midori save me. He grinned and responded, sorry even I wouldn't argue with my mother, as the elevator doors closed behind them. As Melissa collected herself, Izuku said, I see well, thank you, but do I really have to sleep in the same room as you and Ochako? She just likes to tease people a lot, but she's really nice, she inquired. Well, there's also Hatsume, but Nezu told us while you were passed out that there's a room on the first floor you can stay in for the time being or until you're ready, but it's up to you, Izuku said to her. Thank you, I didn't want to offend you or anything, but this is just a little bit too fast, Melissa informed them. Ochako assured her, don't worry, we'll be here if you need us. Thank you, Melissa said, leaving the 2 of them alone as she entered the elevator. I should be getting ready for bed anyhow, but I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Concerned about the blonde, Ochako asked her future husband, you think she'll be alright, Deku? They aren't married yet, but they know they'll be together soon. Izuku, who was still worn out from today, told her, I think she'll be alright, but it'll take her time to get used to the whole kids thing. You're probably right, she said, noticing the fatigue in his eyes. Hey, since Hatsume won't probably be here until later, how about we turn in for the night and maybe enjoy some alone time together, she said, her face turning slightly red. Why did I just say that? She asked herself. Izuku, blushing, said, I'll love that, as they entered their room to rest. Common area downstairs. Melissa entered a heated argument as the elevator on the first floor dinged. Kaminari shouted, "I don't have Uno, dipshit." "Yes you do, everyone has Uno dumdass, it came free with your console," Zero screamed. "Well mine didn't, so fuck off," was Kaminari's response. As the three of them continued to argue, Hatsume yelled, "You have Uno, you dense mother fcker," while Zero attempted to clarify the situation to the yellow-haired boy. While Todoroki was sitting on the couch, wondering, "Do I have Uno?" Ida said, "Cease this argument at once. Why does it matter if he does or does not have the card game?" Mineta was looking out the window when he said, "Guys, can I please come back in? It's cold out here." Kaminari yelled, "No, shut up," as he went to draw the blinds and returned to his argument, "I don't have Uno, dickheads." Melissa noticed the chaos and the floor kids watching the mess. The boy with the light brown curly hair was recording it on his phone, and the youngest one with the cat features had her ears covered by the girl with the pink dreadlocks, who she assumed was the Hatsume girl's daughter. Without trying to draw attention to herself, she quickly made it to her room, but Nana saw her. Later that evening, "So I got picked up by a mouse, bear, dog thing, drove across Japan like I was in an action movie, got to Ua, found out I have a child with Deku, and found out I was in a harem with him." "This sounds like one of those cheesy harem animes," Melissa said, still in her dorm, lying on her bed after today's event. "Who's there?" she called as the person outside slid something underneath her door and left. She heard footsteps outside her door and sat up to see the shadows of someone's feet standing directly outside. After getting out of bed, Melissa went to the object the figure had slid beneath her door, picked it up, and saw that it was a DVD with the words, "Play Me," printed on the cover. She then carried the DVD to her laptop and put it in the DVD slot. She put on her headphones, went to the DVD, and pressed play. The video showed Nana battling the exam robots, and Melissa was in awe of the young girl's ability to hold her own against the robots. "That's my daughter, look at her go," Melissa thought to herself as a memory returned, and she watched with pride as the young girl destroyed them with precise movements and speed as if she had practiced this a million times. 11 years prior, David Shield, Melissa's father, was sitting on the floor of a room with a blanket wrapped around his entire body. "Ooh, will someone please save me? I'm in danger," he pretended to cry as he heard tiny footsteps approaching the door, which suddenly opened to reveal a small Melissa in an All Might onesie. "I am here," she exclaimed as she ran into the room, hugged her father, and they both laughed. Now Melissa finished the video, removed her headset, and leaned back in the chair she sat on at her desk, thinking, maybe this won't be a bad thing at all. She hadn't realized that tears had formed in her eyes as she recalled playing hero with her father, even after she discovered she was quirkless. Uppermost floor. May reluctantly exited the elevator and walked to her room, saying, "I can't believe that idiot saying he didn't get that card game, it's free, come on." As she opened the door to their room, she saw Izuku and Ochako sleeping soundly on the bed, and she thought to herself, "They look so cute together and I'm parted and I can't wait to make so many babies together." As she changed into her pajamas, she considered all the various gadgets she could make for them, crawled into the bed with them, wrapped her arms around Midoriya's torso, and felt him up, thinking, "I can't wait to take measurements of these, especially if he's shirtless." The following day, Powerloader introduced himself to his third-year students in the support course, saying, "Everyone, this is Melissa Shield. She's a transfer student from America and she'll be joining our class." They all turned to stare at the blonde as she stood apprehensively in the front of the class. She said to them, "Hello, I'm Melissa. It's nice to meet you all." Earlier in the morning, everyone was in the common area, savoring the breakfast that Izuku's mother had made. Hatsume and Aoi were discussing the blueprints for different devices. Ochako and Toshi were conversing while Izuku listened in. Toru was doing Yori's hair and Mina was a little irritated because she was still upset about spending the entire night locked in her room, and Nana was playing chess in the morning against Kaminari, who for some reason chose to play against her. While Kaminari was considering his next move and Nana had just made her move, Jiru was observing the two. Jiru turned to Kaminari after glancing at the board on the table. "You're losing," she said casually. I know, but I think if I can manage to." "No you can't, you literally challenge a girl with a prediction quirk, that's like challenging Ida to a foot race," she replied as Kaminari moved a pawn over. He leaned back in his chair and said, "Don't worry, I got this," as he undoubtedly considered winning. When Nana saw her mother, Melissa, entering the common area in her school uniform, she smiled softly and said, "Don't worry Jiru, he's giving his best effort." She added, "Just because you're not good at something doesn't mean you can give it your best effort." "Checkmate," she said, as Kaminari stared at the board in disbelief, and waved to her mother as she moved her knight without looking. He gazed at the board and said, What happened? With a pat on his back, Jiru said, you lost jamming way. And left. The words, dang it I thought I had, were spoken by Kaminari to himself. Good morning, mother. Did you sleep well? Nana asked her mother. Melissa blushed a little because she was still not used to being called mother. I did, she said, and they walked to a table while Inko gave them a pancake plant. Melissa took another bite out of the fluffy pancake and exclaimed, these are so good. As Sato rubbed the back of his head in shame, Inko remarked, you can thank Sato for that he helped with them. Good morning everyone, Nedu said as he and Powerloader entered at that precise moment. With Bakugo's exception, they all said, good morning, sir. Hatsume waved to Powerloader and said, hi teach. Hatsume, that's sensei to you, Powerloader said angrily. Iida asked the mouse bear dog principal, if I may ask sir, what brings you to our dorm this early in the morning? Nedu informed them, well, I'm here to speak to Melissa, while Melissa gazed at him and said, me. That's right, he replied as he approached her, I'm here to let you know that you'll be joining the support course 3rd years and given your current situation that you haven't gotten the chance to explore outside of Island that you can remain here at UA even after you graduate until you get familiar with the city. Nedu concluded. Melissa said, really I can, and thanked them for saving her from being cast into the world. Powerloader handed her the paper and said, here's your schedule. You'll have normal classes during the day and in the afternoon you'll be able to come use the studio which is open all the time to the rest of the other years as well. You'll also be given a secure area to put your inventions and don't be staying in there all night like I certain someone, he said with a glare at Hatsume. Genius never sleeps teach, said Hatsume. Who has time to sleep when there's inventing to be done? Powerloader moaned as he tried to eject Hatsume from the studio every time because she would spend the entire night there if left alone. Melissa assured him, Hatsume, that's not good for your health, don't worry, I'll keep an eye on her Powerloader sensei. The Powerloader said, please do, Nedu remarked, now that's done, we should be on our way, as he glanced around the room and saw that Mineta was not there. As he and Powerloader departed, Nedu remarked, he's outside in the back, to which Zero replied, I see carrying on with the rest of your morning then. Now Powerloader gestured to a desk next to a girl with short, cropped, reddish-brown hair and reddish-brown eyes with long lower eyelashes, saying, go sit next to Yu. You'll have time to introduce yourself to the rest of the class later. Melissa said, yes sir, and walked to the deck. Yu, the girl, was staring at her when she turned to look at her side. She introduced herself to the girl as Melissa Shield. Hello, nice to meet you. She smiled at Melissa and introduced herself as Hiya Yu. It's a pleasure, she said. She took out a notebook and pencil, thinking, maybe this won't be so bad at all. During lunch Melissa quickly found a table to sit at and grabbed her lunch. Since she didn't know anyone here, it was expected that she would be alone. Then she saw that Yu and a girl with light blue eyes and long hair that swirled at the end were coming toward her. She looks adorable, was the only thought that crossed his mind. Melissa was taken aback when the light-haired woman barraged her with questions, saying, hey you must be the new girl from American Yu told me about, so what's it like, where you're from? Why did you come to UA? Do you have any relatives here, is that reason? To calm her down a little, Yu placed a hand on her friend's shoulders. Yu said to her, hey Shield. Do you mind if we sit with you? As they sat down, Melissa said, sure, and who's your friend? This Najire Hato, my best friend, she's in the hero course and I'm her supporter. Yu stated to her. Melissa inquired, curious about the term, nice to meet you Najire, and also supporter? Melissa was still perplexed when Najire interrupted Yu to say, it means she's my go-to for support gear and other things. Let me explain, Yu replied. During our 2nd year of UA, some of us support course students get assigned to a hero course student to help design and create support gear for them, while the others who don't get assigned to one start interning under a support company. It's a pretty common thing in Japan. You didn't have those where you're from? Yu asked her. Since Island was primarily populated by scientists, Melissa tried to come up with a response that would not link her to the island for safety reasons. No, not really. The school I went to was an all-support course school, so we didn't interact with hero and training at our school, Melissa told them, not entirely lying. Really? Wow, that's amazing, a school full of support students. Najire replied. Hey, I can ask you some more questions, she inquired. Melissa said, sure, okay, noticing that Najire was beaming broadly and that there were sparkles all around her. I feel like I made a mistake, Melissa thought. Najire asked Melissa a lot of questions while she listened, including, where did you live in America? How are the people there? Are they nice? Do they have interesting quirks? Is it true about what their hot dogs are made of? Melissa looked at her best friends and understood Yuyu's statement. Don't worry, she's always like this. Once she finds something new she wants to know more about it. Soon after, Najire stopped her questioning when she saw two people walking with their lunches. Hey Mirio, Imajiki over here, Najire yelled as she caught the eye of a blonde boy whose face reminded her of a boy from a comic book about a reporter who was accompanied by a sailor and his white dog, while the other boy, who had more food on his tray and was looking elsewhere because he looked nervous, looked like an elf with indigo hair. As they made their way to their table, the blonde boy said, Hey Najire, hey Yuyu, turning to face Melissa. Oh, I haven't seen you around before. Are you new? He asked. Yes, I'm Melissa. It's nice to meet you, she said, holding out her hand to shake hands. He said, Nice to meet you, I'm Mirio Tagata, as his hand moved through hers, but she didn't notice the cheeky smile on his face. Melissa asked, Huh? As Mirio pulled his arm back. Surprised you didn't I? Mirio laughed, while the other person grinned and wasn't shocked by his antics. You sure did, Melissa asked, was that your quirk? The indigo boy looked at them and tensed up, saying, hey, as he looked down to cover his face. Oh, can I say it? Najire asked as she went on. It's called permeation. Sounds pretty cool, right? She said. He's also in the hero course with me along with Imajiki over there. Come on, say hey, don't be shy. Najire assured Melissa, don't worry about him. He's quite shy at first but he'll open up later. So does your quirk let phase through everything? Melissa asked Mirio after nodding. Yep, I can have certain parts of my body or my entire body phase through anything, and when I deactivate it I get shot right back, Mirio stated to her. Melissa said, wow, that sounds fantastic. Are there any drawbacks? As I phase through solid objects I can't take on air or see anything, so it's a bit tricky to use, he said, while Melissa said, wow, that's amazing. So what about you too? Mine is called wave motion. Najire replied. I can convert my vitality into energy that can discharge as blast waves, and Imajiki over there is manifest and he can use the physical properties of anything he eats, she said, while Imajiki was staring at her. Please don't go telling strangers what my quirk is. Ignoring him, Najire turned to face Melissa and asked, so what's your quirk? Melissa dropped her utensils in response, and they both stared at her. Melissa gave them a nervous look as Yuyu asked, is something the matter, Shield? She muttered, no, not really, it's just that I don't have a quirk at all. Imaji looked up at her and asked, really? She nodded. Melissa looked at Yuyu and said, oh, is that it? Hey, we don't judge here, I mean I'm pretty much quirkless, Yuyu said. Melissa stared at her, unsure of her meaning. As her eyes started to shift from their typical color to yellow, pink, blue, green, black, and back again, Yuyu explained. My quirk allows me to change my eye color. Not really a good quirk for being a hero, but I'm not down about it, she replied. Yuyu nodded and Melissa asked, really? Yep, so don't worry, it's all peace and love with us. As Melissa calmed down a little, she assured her that people wouldn't judge her for being unusual. Najire remarked, hey Melissa, do you have a little sister or something? After noticing that the girl resembled Melissa and had 3 other children, she also had short green hair. When asked, nope, don't have any younger siblings at all, Melissa jumped. She blushed and waved her hands while the 4 of them stared at him bewildered. Najire's eyes were staring at her as she moved slightly closer to her face and said, really? Yes, really, Melissa said, leaning back slightly and perspiring a little. As Najire sat back down with a cute pout on her face, Mirio said, calm down, Najire, and just enjoy your lunch. Everyone laughed at her look. Melissa grinned as she glanced at her new circle of friends. Later on in the day, Melissa and Yuyu were strolling down the school until they came to a big, reinforced door. As they entered, Yuyu remarked, and this is the support studio where you will make most of your inventions and gadgets. Yuyu grabbed Melissa's hand just as she was ready to open it. Melissa recalled that Hatsume was the cause of the explosions, so Yuyu said, if I were you, I'd be careful because there's this first year that's always in there causing explosions. Abruptly, Yuyu heard something and stepped back, pulling Melissa with her. Boom! A cloud of black smoke appeared as the room's doors blew open. While Melissa saw a figure lying on the floor, Yuyu moaned, I guess she's in there again. I hope none of the tools are badly damaged, she said, rubbing her temples in frustration. Hatsume appeared with swirls in her eyes as the smoke cleared. In a whisper to herself, man, what a bang. At that moment, a large, pink, hairy object emerged from the lab, wrapped itself around her, and raised her. The two girls heard the words. "Mom," Hatsume yelled from the laboratory. "I told you not to connect that wire," a furious Aoi said, and Powerloader reprimanded Hatsume, who was still recuperating from the explosions, saying, "I swear your kid is more responsible than you, Hatsume." Hatsume grinned broadly as he said, "I apologize, but it's my responsibility as a brilliant inventor to investigate every possibility." Powerloader told her, "Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to go and blow up the lab," but she was obviously not paying attention. Hatsume tried to wriggle out of her hair and said, "Now Aoi, could you please put me down? I have to work on my other babies." As Hatsume went white, Aoi said, "Sorry, Mom, but I'm putting you in hair time out." "You wouldn't do that to your own mother, your creator," Hatsume complained. Aoi was about to leave when she saw her other mother, Melissa, and another girl with her. "Sorry, Mom, but this is for your own good," she said. Melissa gave them a feeble smile in response to Aoi's, "Hey other mother," wave. And Yu gazed at them in perplexity. Melissa rubbed the back of her hair in embarrassment as she saw Yu staring at her. "I can explain," Melissa said, but Yu just stared at her. A brief explanation will follow. Yu grunted as she tightened a bolt and said, "So let me get this straight." Melissa handed her a wrench and said, "You just recently found out that you're in a harem with that green-haired boy that broke himself in the sports festival, and you have child with him along with the other girls, and said children are from the future." When Melissa was welding two metals together, some of the sparks flew off. "Yes, that would be the case, oops," she said. Yu leaned on the table and said, "Man, that's one way to start off your first day at UA huh? How do you feel about this?" Hatsume was it. She turned to see Hatsume hanging from the ceiling by her pink hair. As Hatsume struggled out of her hair trap, she said, "Honestly, I pretty much enjoy it. Midoriya is basically a hero dictionary, and not to mention he likes all of my inventions, plus he's really cute and buff as well." Yu said, "And you're one of his children," to Aoi, a young girl with pink hair. While working on a drone technology project, she informed them that she was Aoi Midoriya, the second youngest of her four siblings. Yu questioned her, "So where are the other kids?" Aoi brought over a screwdriver while using her hair to tell them, "They're probably helping Dad and the rest of his class with their super moves." Aoi shook her head no, and Yu asked, "Isn't that a bit dangerous since you all are still kids?" "Not really, our dad trained us, and we know what their future versions are capable of." Melissa remarked, "You're surprisingly calm about this," as she removed her welding goggles. "Well, I've been at UA long enough to not get weirded out by stuff like this, plus it's not every day you get to meet someone from the future." Yu replied to her. "I suppose that's accurate," Melissa remarked. Melissa nodded in agreement as Yu said, "Now come on, I need more material, think you can help?" "Sure," Melissa replied, heading to the supply closet. Hatsume asked, "Aoi, could you please let me down?" and received a prompt, "No," and "Rats," in response. Using Class 1A, normal consecutive punches, Nana yelled as she quickly struck a Kirishima, whose skin became harder with each blow. As he held his ground against the blows, he told himself, come on, move Red Riot move." He stepped forward steadily, then stepped back again. Nana pauses the punches so he can catch his breath. "You made surprising progress today, you didn't get blown back," she informed him, noticing Kirishima's labored breathing. "Yeah. Size. Thanks," Kirishima said, gasping for air. Nana looked at the line behind her and said, "You still have a long way to go, but you'll achieve the next in no time." He grinned at her as she finished. "Really?" "Really," Nana said, smiling gently. "Hey thanks, but why are you helping me so much, Nana? Wouldn't it be better to help your father?" she replied. "Like I told you, you and father are more alike. You both don't believe in your own capabilities, plus father is already in the process of discovering a new path for him," said Nana to him. Kirishima asked her, "Really, tell me what it is, please." As Kirishima remained perplexed, she chuckled lightly and said, "Well, let's just say he'll get a kick out of things, huh?" Kirishima replied, "Hell yeah," before Nana attacked him once more. "Never mind that, are you ready, Red Riot?" Nana said. She yelled, normal consecutive punches, once more while punching him quickly. With Toshi and Ochako as he helped his mother extend the time she could stay in the air by floating herself, Toshi cheered, "Come on Mom, you can do it just a bit more." Ochako immediately turned off her quirk since she could feel her stomach getting queasy. As Toshi pressed the stopwatch he was carrying and followed her down, he remarked, "An hour 15 minutes, not bad Mom." She took deep breaths and said, "Yeah, I beat my own record." "Here you go." Toshi gave her a tablet pill and a bottle of water. Ochako looked at the pill, hoping it wasn't a drug, and asked, "What is this, Toshi?" Toshi took out a prescription bottle and explained, "It's a regular nausea relief pill." Inquiring about his future mother's use of them, Toshi asked her mother, "I always keep a bottle or two with me when I'm practicing my quirk, don't you?" Ochako remarked, "I can't really afford them," as she began to feel better after taking the medication and drinking the water. As she gazed at him as though he had grown a second head, Toshi said, "But can't you just request them from Recovery Girl? I'm sure she has a ton of them." She could have asked the Recovery Girl for them, but Ochako slapped her forehead and said, Why didn't I think of that?" As Ochako's thoughts wandered and she gazed at the water bottle, Toshi reassured her, "Don't worry about Mom, you would have figured it out on your own." As he knew that question would eventually come up, Toshi told her, "Hey Toshi, how are you? If you're asking about my grandparents, aka your mom and dad, they're both happily living a comfortable life in Hawaii like you promised them." "Really?" Ochako asked excitedly. "Really?" Toshi exclaimed, her eyes welling with tears, that she had realized her dream. She asked her son, "What happens after?" "I can't believe future me did it." Since Toshi didn't want to give away too much and wanted his mother to find out for herself, he said, "Well, let's just say you also became a hero for other reasons." As the pill took effect and the queasiness completely disappeared, Ochako said, "Well, I hope I found those reasons. Come on, my little Astro Boy, let's continue my training." She felt lighter than air. As they both stood up, Toshi remarked, "Right behind you, Mom." Alongside Yori was sitting on the floor with Aizawa, and Aizawa was petting her while Yori rested her head on his leg. They were both observing Midoriya as he rehearsed his movements and punches. As Aizawa kept petting her head, Yori purred, "So what do you think of Dad? He's a problem child but he's learning from his mistakes, so I give him that," Aizawa stated to her. "Are you still upset with him and the others for when they went to Kamino?" He responded. The question, how did she know that he went there, took him by surprise. He questioned her, "How did you know about that?" She grinned and remarked, "Future Dad told me because I'm a curious kitten." "I see. Well, I'm upset but it's more of the fact they didn't trust the pros to help rescue Bakugo and took it upon themselves," she replied. As Aizawa gazed at the green-haired boy, Yori explained, "Dad can't really help it. If he sees someone in reach that needs help he'll take it. That's what makes him the best hero." As she covered her mouth, Yori said, "He was always like that even when he was quirkless at first. Oops. She shouldn't have said that." "Midoriya was originally quirkless." "Interesting," Aizawa remarked, recalling the entrance exam and the first day of school. Aizawa asked, "Yori, could you please tell me more?" She sat up and shook her head, saying, "I can't." "Why?" he inquired. "I simply cannot," she replied. Aizawa considered how to get her to talk, but then he recalled that she is 7 years old and partially cat. "How about this then, if you tell me I'll give a bunch of sushi and more head pats," he negotiated. "Can I have salmon?" Yori asked, her tail wagging and her cat ears perking up. "Sure," he said. "Yay," she replied. "What do you want to know and also why?" As Yori nodded her head, Aizawa explained, "Well, for the reason that I'm Midoriya's teacher and it's my job to help guide Hioke. Now, could you tell me when did Midoriya's quirk manifest?" she asked. After giving it some thought, Yori recalled how Bakugo had surprised him with a quirk following his ball throw. "Well, he said he got it the day of his exam," he said, shocking Aizawa. So Midoriya was going to take the exam quirkless had it not manifested, he recalled. As his words made Yori's mouth water, he added, "Could you also tell me about Midoriya and Bakugo relationship and I'll throw in a big piece of tuna?" As Yori protruded her pinky, Aizawa said, "Okay, but it's a secret, okay?" "All right," she said. "Oh sure, my pinky promises," was Aizawa's expression as he gazed at it and sighed. "Okay, so Dad said that him and Bakugo used to be childhood friends but after Bakugo got his quirk he changed in a bad way," Yori told him. Aizawa asked, "Really, how so?" "I don't really know but Dad said he was just awful but he still believed his friend was still there." "Okay, thank you Yori, you might have just helped your father," Aizawa said to her. He nodded and she asked, "Really?" As she leaned in to give him more head pats, Yori cheered, "Yeah, I get to eat fish and help Dad." When he reciprocated, she meowed with joy. As he recalled how Midoriya flinched and screamed when Bakugo charged at him on the first day, he thought, "So I have a Midoriya that was supposedly quirkless up until the entrance exam and a rocky relationship with Bakugo and Midoriya in a bad way." He kept staring at Midoriya and said, "I might need to look into Midoriya's and Bakugo's records before they came to Ua because if I'm right then we just allowed a kid along with his bully onto our school grounds." The Villains League was in a bad mood. They were forced to relocate from several of the foe's covert warehouses after losing their hideout bar and a few of their members. Kurogiri said he had to get something for his master, Sadabi, and he left to take care of their own business. A blonde schoolgirl named Himiko Toga, a villain wanted in numerous cases where the victims bled out, said, what's our next move? Shigaraki has been in that room ever since we got to this stupid place. I hate moving around this much. Magna, a transgender woman with big lips, a broad, muscular build, shoulder length, reddish magenta hair, and a rather square jaw with sparse facial hair, said, "Don't move so much, dear, I'm almost done," while arranging Himiko's hair in her trademark messy buns. As he knocked on a door that Shigaraki was behind, a villain named Twice contradicted himself and said, "Yeah, what's the big idea? What's the next plan? I'm ready to go. I actually like staying here." Magna handed Himiko a broken mirror and asked, "And done, what do you think, dearie?" As she stood up, Himiko grinned as she saw herself in the mirror and said, "I love it, thank you big sis Magna." "So, what do you guys think?" Toga asked her colleagues. "I love it, I've seen better hairstyles on a dog, multiple times." While Spinner, a green lizard man, didn't seem to care at all, Mr. Compress, a villain wearing a mask and a top hat, told her she looked amazing. Spinner sat up on the moldy couch and said, "Grr, it's been weeks since those heroes raided us and look where we are." "For what, kidnapping a kid so he can join us?" he asked. As he continued to uphold Stain ideology, Spinner concluded, "I wouldn't say it was a complete loss. All Might did retire after all." Mr. Compress informed him, "Yeah, but he was the only true hero that lived up to Stain's idea, and now there's just a bunch of fakes out there." Sitting quietly in the room, Shigaraki examined the information he had received about the buildings where the UA students would be. The image of Izuku Midoriya was his main focus. He reflected on the times he had seen him at Hosu, the mall, and now even the Kamino fight, thinking, "No matter what I do or where I go, somehow we always meet." In addition, he recalled how he and Stain both looked up All Might, even though the boy who yelled and smashed at him at USJ simply pretended to be an All Might fanboy. He concluded his thought as he could still hear Twice hammering on the door in the outback. "I suppose you and I are fated arch-enemies, but the question is who will win in the final battle and change society to their fitting," he said. Shigaraki went to the door and opened it after closing the folder. Twice let Shigaraki walk by to the middle of his room and said, "You finally came out of your hiding hole, go back in there, you smell awful." Shigaraki held up a folder as Mr. Compress said, "Judging by the way of your entrance, you have something planned. So care to tell us?" he asked. As they all examined it, Shigaraki remarked, "This folder contains information on UA licensing exam, where the students are going to and what classes will be at each one." Spinner said, "Hold up, you're not really considering going after an exam area full hero kids," as he stood up, considering how insane and dangerous it sounded. Twice put up his hand to volunteer, saying, "I don't care, I'll drop kick a child, it's too risky of a move." Shigaraki handed Himiko the folder and said, "No, we're not attacking them, but I do want you to retrieve something for me." When she opened it, she saw a photo of the green-haired boy she had fallen head over heels for. Shigaraki said, "I want you to go to the exam area he'll be at and get a blood sample and bring it back here." She looked at him as if he had just given her the opportunity of a lifetime. "Really?" she asked, beaming broadly. He returned to the room in silence, saying, "Yes, and after that I want all of us to stay on low for a bit." Everyone was staring at the door, except for Himiko, who was jumping and holding the folder with joy. When Himiko opened the file and saw the photo of the boy with a heartbroken expression on her face, she exclaimed, "Yai, not only do I get to see my darling Izuku, but I also get to make him bleed as well." Magna remarked, "Isn't that adorable? I remembered when I had a high school crush, since she looked exactly like Himiko." Spinner questioned her, "What happened to him?" Magna's expression was solemn as Spinner and Compress were in shock. "Let's just say he broke my heart, so I broke his," she said. Twice, as she whirled around clutching the folder, she said, "Hey, what does that brat have that I don't have? I bet it's the freckles." Remembering the sports festival, Himiko remarked, "He's perfect, cute, and strong. And not to mention how he looks all bloody and banged up," she said, pausing as she turned to face the others. She concluded, "I just want to stab him and make him look pretty," as she opened the folder, took out a small knife, and ran it across Izuku's face, saying, "Only just a bit though." Spinner whispered to himself, "Well, Stain did save the boy, so I can see the qualities in him." As Himiko glanced at him, Mr. Compress concluded, just make sure you don't actually hurt the boy. Remember, this is a stealth mission and you're going into a highly secure area, so be alert and discreet and disappear without a trace. She continued to gaze at Izuku's photo, saying, don't worry, disappearing is my specialty. Soon, my darling, soon. Nighttime in the UA dorms. As everyone, with the exception of Bakugo and Mineta, was in the common area doing homework and chatting, Izuku asked Melissa, so, how did you enjoy your first day? Inko said, that's nice, dearie, while helping a small group of students with their homework. It was great, I already made a couple of friends, she told them, and I got a chance to visit the development studio. Mina, Shoji, Kaminari, Aoyama, and Kirishima were among the group members. Kirishima told her, thanks for helping us, Mrs. Midoriya. As she assisted Aoyama with a math problem, Inko remarked, it's not a problem, I may not have a strong quirk but I'm very book smart. Todoroki sat next to Iida and thought, must be where Midoriya gets his intelligence from. Melissa noticed her daughter's long blonde hair with green tips and her bright cerulean eyes while Nana was reading a book next to her mother. She really does look like a mini-me, Melissa said. Melissa noticed the odd bracelets she wore on her arms as well. They were a little bit bulkier, so they didn't look like any other bracelet. Melissa said, pardon me, Nana. I have a question. Nana knew her mother would inquire about her bracelets, so she asked, what is it? Melissa asked, may I have a closer look at one of your bracelet gauntlets? Nana was more than delighted. She handed it to her mother after removing one of her bracelets and turning it on to display the entire gauntlet in all its splendor. Melissa said, interesting, did you design and build it yourself? Well, I used the base from your version of the gauntlet and both me and Aoi built it, Nana replied. As Nana grinned, Melissa concluded, well, I'm impressed. My version was only meant to help those who have to hold back on their quirk, but yours is impressive. Melissa blushed at the response, and she said, thanks, mother. Hatsume said, speaking of inventions, I would like to share some ideas with you, Blondie, as she suddenly materialized and touched Melissa's face, blushing slightly in the process. She asked, what would you like to share? Hatsume began. Izuku glanced at the gauntlet and then back at his scarred hand as he watched the screen unfold in front of him. He recalled the doctor's warning that his arms would stop working if he used his quirk excessively. Uraraka saw the expression on his face and said, hey Deku, something the matter? He informed her, oh, it's nothing, Ochako. In the office of UA, Aizawa was in the teacher's office in the dead of night, going through his class's records, primarily the Bakugo and Midoriya files. He wanted to see his students' records right away after speaking with Yori. To compare the two, he went to a table with a little lamp and opened them up. Let's see, he thought, noticing that something was wrong with the records. Bakugo's records were nearly perfect, with no incident reports and perfect grades, while Midoriya's seemed to indicate that he picked fights, was extremely rude, and had almost imperfect Redessa. His highest score was an 83. Aizawa thought, odd, since he knew that Midoriya was one of his smartest pupils and that, given his personality, picking fights with other people didn't seem appropriate. Additionally, it said that prior to UA, Midoriya was, in fact, quirkless. With a sigh, Aizawa closed both files, looked up at the ceiling, took out his phone, scrolled through the contacts, found one labeled, Celebrity Buffoon, and made contact. When he heard the other person say, I am here, he said, hey Aizawa, what brings you to calling me in the middle of the night? He asked him, hey All Might, you met Midoriya before UA, right? Don't lie. I did. Why? All Might replied, wondering where the conversation was headed. Aizawa questioned him, did you ever ask how Midoriya's school life was before UA? All Might questioned him, no, not really, it never really came up. What's this about? All Might didn't like to see where this was going, so he told him, I'm looking at both Midoriya and Bakugo records from their old schools. As All Might looked down, he said, and we might want to do an investigation on their middle school. I believe the teachers were being completely biased to their students. I see. I'll ask my friend Detective Sukuchi to investigate the school, but tell me Aizawa, what is this about? All Might requested. As he hung up, Aizawa stated, I think Bakugo was also part of the problem and I think Midoriya was being discriminatory of being quirkless. Sitting on his chair, All Might was reflecting on the recent discussion he had with Aizawa. He thought back to when he first met Midoriya, who was just a timid, scared fanboy. Furthermore, He recalled that he had informed him that Bakugo was his friend, but that they had a falling out. He dialed a number on his cell phone and said, "Please tell me I didn't misunderstand their relationship." The voice said, "Hey All Might, what do I owe the pleasure to?" Detective Sukuchi was one of the few individuals who was already aware of his limit. 3 a.m. Bakugo entered the kitchen and got a glass of water for himself. He was unaware of a figure behind him until it said, "So." The voice was monotone, and as the figure turned, he saw that it was Nana, who was seated in the chair and petting a sleeping Yori. "I have a question for you," Nana said to him. Bakugo said, "The hell you want," but Nana interrupted him, whispering, "Language, there's a child present with sensitive hearing," as she gestured to her sleeping sister. "Spill it, beat, what do you want?" he said, annoyed that Deku's brat had shushed him. Nana gave him a fierce look and said, "Even after everything your father has done, you two would be on good terms again, so why do you still treat him like he's nothing more than a punching bag?" As Bakugo was stunned by what she had just said, she concluded, "Are you afraid on him the progress he made over the span of these few months of him being at UA to gain control over his quirk quickly compared to 10 years of having your quirk? It seems inconceivable that he would be afraid of that worthless nerd. He should be a pebble that he can kick aside, a bug that he can only squash, and Deku should be the one who is afraid of him." Nana got up and carried Yori to the elevator, saying, "I see, well, if you excuse me, I better put her to bed." However, she spoke again before the doors could close. "You should be afraid of father. In all honesty, he's a superior hero and person than you'll ever be. Try as you might, you'll never be able to close that gap between you two." Nana concluded as the elevator doors closed. Bakugo gripped the glass he was holding angrily until it broke to pieces while he gazed at the door. "I'll show that blonde bitch once I get my license and a better score than that loser," he grumbled. Somewhere else, an alarm went off in a room, telling the person in bed to get out of bed. When the figure emerged, it was Denki Kaminari, who turned it off right away and checked the time. He uttered the words, "Oh boy, 3 a.m., as he unexpectedly took out a hamburger and started munching on it. As an interesting side note, Kaminari's favorite food is actually canonical hamburgers. Things have been going smoothly for the next few weeks. Everything was going well. Melissa was settling into her new school. Mei wasn't making many explosions in the studio because Melissa and Aoi were keeping her in line. Kirishima was getting closer to pushing Nana over the line, and Izuku began training his children at night in the backyard. At the moment, Melissa, Mei, and Ochako were on the top floor of the dorm. Melissa was curious at first, but it took a while before she started living with them. She eventually moved in with them after hanging out with them for a while. They were all eating a few snacks that Ochako had stashed in the bed while still in their pajamas. Melissa, who was eating a cookie, asked the two, "So were you all really calm knowing that we are a family with Deku and have kids with him?" Ochako rubbed the back of her head and exclaimed, "Oh no, not really. I kinda freaked out once I found out about it. I didn't care at all. I was too overjoyed that I actually have a real baby," said Hatsume. Melissa said, "Really?" while Hatsume gave a nod. As they agreed, Hatsume said, "He really likes my babies and he wasn't upset with me for changing his costume." She concluded by opening a bag of chips. Honestly, who wouldn't be happy to have a baby with Izuku by the looks of things? He's obviously a great guy. "Ah, that was you. I really liked Deku's original costume. He looked like a really cute green bunny," Uraraka replied. Inquisitive about the original, Melissa questioned, "Wait, that wasn't Deku's original costume, what did it look like?" "Oh, it's like the one he has now, but it was a very much lighter green. The black lines were white, and he had a face mask that had cute long bunny ears on top," Uraraka stated. Melissa remarked, "That does sound adorable," wishing she could have witnessed it. "Hey, he helped me get far in the sports festival, so I thought I'd do something nice for him. Besides, his costume was already burned and banged up and reports say he only wore it once." Hatsume sighed. "Cause of Bakugo," Uraraka muttered to herself as she recalled how severely Izuku's costume had been damaged during the battle trial. "But don't tell me you don't like the new one. It's surprising snug of him," Hatsume said. Uraraka blushed when she first saw him wearing his new costume, which fit him perfectly. The statement, "Yeah, Deku is surprisingly really buff, like his face doesn't match his body at all," made Melissa blush a little too. She recalled how well built he was when he lost his shirt in the battle with Wolfram. "And he's rock solid too." Hatsume laughed when she gave him a hug and felt his torso. Melissa tried to shift the conversation by saying, Well, let's talk about something else like Ochako. You met him first, right? What was he like since you knew him longer? No, not at all. The first time I met him he was really shy and stuttered a lot, almost the complete opposite of what he is now. She went on. He was just a nervous All Might fanboy. I already sorta guessed that he really looks up to Uncle Might, said Melissa. Ochako said, you should have seen when we had our own room. He's a huge All Might fan. Really, how huge of a fan? Melissa asked as Ochako showed them a picture of his room on her flip phone. Melissa and Hatsume exclaimed, whoa, as they surveyed the room and noticed that there was only All Might merchandise everywhere. Hatsume remarked, wow, he truly is a fanboy. As the two girls gazed at Melissa, she remarked, I can't believe he got his hands on that limited edition 5th anniversary action figure. It's so rare. Ochako prodded Melissa in the arm and remarked, I think Deku or any All Might fan would be jealous of you. Isn't All Might like an uncle to you? Melissa scowled and pressed her index fingers together, saying, hey, he's my favorite hero too. She added, plus, I already tried to ask Uncle Might for one but they stopped making them. As she held one that appeared to be severely damaged, Hatsume remarked, honestly, I thought Midoriya was a fan of all heroes given he has ton of notes about them in these notebooks he carries. As Ochako reached for the book, Hatsume moved her arm out of Uraraka's reach and said, I don't know. Hey, where do you get that? Since this was Melissa's first exposure to those books, she said, I'm curious to actually see what's in those books, to be honest. Hatsume waved the notebook and said, yeah, come on, float girl. Where are you from out of curiosity besides being in here as well? Remembering that Izuku had added her to his hero journals, Ochako was intrigued to see what he had written about her. As Hatsume cheered, Ochako said, fine, a few peeks and that's it. She added, and it's Ochako Uraraka, not float girl, but Hatsume seemed to ignore her. Outside the backyard, as she was jumping on floating rocks that Toshi was floating around to create various terrains and being pursued by her father, Yori yelled, come dad, try to catch me. Izuku's training was to use his quirks to catch his daughter Yori as they were jumping between the rocks while Toshi was floating. The true challenge was to stay clear of rocks that would obstruct his path and to avoid being caught by Aoi hair as they leapt through the air. Toshi would throw more rocks at Deku and more Aoi hair would come up, making it harder to catch Yori when he was about to do so. As her father and younger sister leapt through the air, Nana thought, he still isn't pushing himself. He can't handle air combat yet because he has to slow down to break the rocks, but he's also still in the mindset that can't go over 5% a bit, Nana thought. As Toshi lowered the rocks, Nana said, okay, bring them back down you, loud enough for them to hear. Izuku was struggling to keep up with Yori and was gasping. As she threw him his water bottle and started to drink it, Aoi said, here you go, Dad. He said, thanks, in between breaths. You stay at a constant speed and you were able to catch up to Yori but you still haven't caught her, Nana stated to him. As Toshi and Aoi both whistled to avoid being noticed, he remarked, well, it's not like you're making it any easier. Besides, if I use more than my current limit I could break myself again, Izuku stated to them. The only percentage you ever used OFA currently right now is either at 100% or 5% correct, Izuku replied with a nod, right. Nana said, only 5% or 100%, as she drew very close to her father's face and started to glare at him. As Nana continued to glare at him, Izuku told her, if I use any more, I might break myself. Only 5% or 100%, Nana replied. Izuku recalled Ochako doing this to him back on Ai Island and thought, she said it again. Why does she always say only 5 or 100%? Izuku just realized what she was saying, so he said, why yeah, what are you getting at, Nanu? You're right, I've only been using OFA at 5% because it was a safe percentage to use my quirk safety without breaking my body, but I have to realize I could possibly increase the percentage by just increasing it by little and train from there to get a better accustomed to it. Heck, I could already be able to go a bit higher than 5%, like maybe 8 or 9% from all the training I've been doing and haven't realized it, Izuku said to himself as his kid looked at his father. A little bit out of order, don't you think, sis? Aoi replied to Nana. Perhaps, but the time for him to realize that he can use his legs so he won't always have to use his arms is close, but he also needs to learn that he doesn't always have be to a constant 5% cause his body is growing over time because he consistently trains himself. Toshi whispered to his sister, don't you think we shouldn't be saying that around him since that will be giving him the answer? As they watched him until he was done, Nana concluded, not really remember he's close off from the world in this state. Izuku said, okay, I get, as the children gazed at him as he assumed his stance and turned on OFA. As he increased the power, Izuku thought, okay, start at 5% and go from there a bit. Okay, 6% is good, 7% is also good, he continued, so let's try 8%. He could feel the strain on his muscles and bones. Okay, so 8% is a good number, but let's see how this makes a difference, he concluded, looking at his kids. Izuku grinned and said, Yori, you're ready for another game of tag. Yes, and you're it, Yori concluded as she dropped to her knees and fled. Izuku soon discovered the difference between 5% and 8% after pursuing his daughter. Returning to the room, as the girls perused the various hero pages of Izuku's journal, Hatsume remarked, wow, these are some detail notes. I could definitely use these for some new baby ideas. Melissa was looking at a drawing of Momo with information about her quirk and possibly some ideas when she said, so these are all the quirks that your friends have. As she turned the page and blushed at what she saw, Ochako said, yeah, strangely enough we haven't told Deku that much detail about our quirks, so it's impressive he has these ideas and theories we could possibly do. The page was about her. Hatsume stopped Uraraka from closing the book, saying, you know it's getting late, maybe we should stop, I mean we are probably looking at something that's private. No we're not, she said, grabbing the book and noticing Uraraka's page. Oh, that's why, May pushed the flushed girl, grinning smugly. What's wrong? I don't want to know what Midoriya thinks of you. Melissa asks inquisitively, ooh, what does it say? Ahem, it says Ochako Uraraka quirk. Zero gravity, gives her the power to nullify the effects of gravity on solid targets, living and non-living, by touching them with the pads on her fingertips, making them weightless and float, May said as Uraraka attempted to conceal herself in the blankets. May attempted to sound educational as she stated, she can cancel the effect of her quirk by touching her finger pads together. Melissa turned to the blanket lump that Ochako was under and said, sounds like an impressive quirk. So where does the gravity go once you nullify it? She asked. What is your current limit? Ochako asked her. I don't really know, all I know is that if I exceed my limit or use it to make me float on myself I get real nauseous. Melissa asked as Ochako held up 3 fingers from under the cover, 3 tons currently. As Ochako peered from under the covers, Hatsume informed her, well, Midoriya here believes that when you nullify the object's gravity gets transferred into your body and the pressure from it is why it causes the nauseous. Really? She said, as Ochako was astounded by this new information. Yep, no, let's see what else he wrote. Hatsume replies as she keeps looking. Oh look, it says here that your finger pads are really cute and he says it's noble and honorable of you to be a hero so you can her parents a comfortable life. Ochako thought, he does. Is that really true? Melissa asked. Yeah, it is kind of selfish, isn't? Ochako said, expecting her to be disappointed. No, not really. Being a hero to help your family is amazing, Melissa said, reassuring her. Thanks, Melissa, Ochako said. Oh, here's the good part, it also says that you are one of the nicest people he has ever met and that's he's grateful that you saved him before the entrance exam and become one of his first real friends in a long time. You have always had his back even in the second part of the sports festival when he was a huge target and you keep cheering me on. Thanks to her I've been able to use Deku as hero name for you can do it, May replied. Isn't that adorable, he thinks so highly of you and he's very appreciative of you as well, May read it loud for her to hear as Ochako tremble. As Hatsume took off the cover, Ochako thought, I'm not that great honestly. Ah, look how red in the face you are. Hatsume laughed, and Ochako stood up looking irate. Well, let's see how red in the face you get when we see your page, Uraraka said to her as she turned through the notebook. May told her, puffing out her chest, ha, fat chance I doubt it, those notes are full of heroes and I'm no hero, I'm just a girl in the support course. Uraraka exclaimed, found it, and Hatsume's face flushed. What, but I'm no hero. Hatsume stared at her in shock as Uraraka showed her the page that featured a photo of her and a helmet design. As she heard Izuku's opinion of her, Hatsume blushed. Most of her classmates tend to dismiss her because they aren't used to her antics, but hearing from someone she only met at the sports festival was a welcome change of pace. It's said here that Hatsume may be a little bit of eccentric and have an in-your-face personality, but her inventions are babies, as she calls them, are very really amazing. I think she'll be a great inventor to have around. As Hatsume turned around, Ochako taunted her, saying, ha, looked at you now, you're as red as a tomato. Shut up. Hatsume shot back. Make me. Ochako stuck her tongue out at her, and Hatsume quickly threw her to the ground as they started rolling around and fighting. If Hatsume is in there, maybe I'm in there as well. Melissa sighed at them both and glanced at the notebook Ochako had dropped. She snatched it up and started looking through it, noticing various types of people. Let me see Class 1A still, Class 1B, Shinso Hitoshi, Melissa Shield, Myrick Wait, she said, turning back to see that she was in the journal. She was genuinely shocked to learn that she would also be in the notebook because, despite her quirkiness, Hatsume was also in it. Melissa Shield, daughter of the famous scientist David Shield, is an amazing and kind genius inventor who helped me and my friends rescue and save everyone on Ai Island. Honestly, I don't think we would have been able to do it without her help, and her full gauntlet was an amazing invention she gave me which allowed me to use 100% of my quirk without breaking my arm. I felt really bad about destroying, but I hope one day I can make it up to her because she was our hero. Melissa covered her mouth and said, he really is too kind. Hey, you two, quit real quick, Melissa said as Ochako held May facing the ground with her arm behind her back. Man, what are you? May moaned while in a hold, and Ochako remarked, I'm a mini battle hero, as she let go of her. Huh, that's odd, Melissa said as Ochako and May continued to fight on the floor. As she stood up, Ochako asked, so what is it, Melissa? I just noticed that there's not a page on Deku like he has a ton of the others in here but not him, she said. Ochako said, perhaps he's in the other books. Hatsume prodded her head and said, nope, I checked them and he isn't. As May turned her head to the side, Ochako asked, wait, what do you mean, check them, do you know where they are? Maybe, she replied. Melissa's eyes widened as she demanded, May, tell us where they are or I will tell Powerloader to revoke your studio privileges. Okay, I may or may not have peeked on him putting his notebooks in the closet, Hatsume said. Melissa said, so you raided his closet. Hatsume defended himself by saying, hey, I made sure I didn't touch anything else besides those books. I promise on my babies, Ochako said, letting out a sigh, we are going to talk about this later, so you're sure there isn't a journal with him in it? Ochako told Melissa, well, at the beginning of the school year he told me and Iida that he was a late bloomer with his quirk. Melissa thought, well, that's weird judging from his notes he's a huge quirk fan, so why isn't he in one? Melissa shook her head and thought, I'll ask him later. Late bloomer, does that mean he was quirkless like me? How long did it take him to get his? Hatsume suggested, hey, how about we make a page for him then? As the girls looked at him, hey, that's not a bad idea, let's make one for him. Ochako said, looking at Melissa, what do ya think, Melissa? As Hatsume turned to a blank page, Melissa emerged from her reverie and said, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Good, I'll get started on the drawing. I have a great attention to detail. Melissa then started sketching. As Melissa started talking about what they knew, she said, cool, me and Melissa will write notes on Deku's quirk and everything. Later that evening, Deku had recently finished training with his children, and with their assistance, he discovered that he could gradually raise the percentage to get his body acclimated to the new percent limit rather than having to stay at 5% all the time. He found Ochako, Melissa, and May dozing off on the bed while he was using one of his hero journals in his and his girlfriend's room. As Izuku carefully walked over to pick up the notebook and saw the page, he wondered, how did they get my hero journal? And then thought, Hatsume, she must have seen where I put them. What, they made a page on me, he said, glancing at the notes and the excellent photo of himself, as it states. Izuku, Deku, Midoriya's superpower quirk. Izuku glanced at his wives sleeping and thought, perhaps I should tell them the truth. He then turned to look at the other notes they had made. They described him as a cool, tenacious hero who never gave up, as well as smart, strong, attractive, and well-built. Izuku blushed at the last line, but the line that really touched him was, and that's why we love him, at the end, which was next to small, smiling drawings of Melissa and Ochako Hatsume. His eyes started to well up, but he didn't want to wake them up by making a noise. They really do care for me, he thought, recalling all the times he had spent with them. He held the brave close to his chest, but his face was sad. And yet I'm keeping my quirk a secret from them, I'll tell them after the exam. He concluded as he carefully put his book away in the closet and headed to the shower, but before he entered the bathroom, he glanced at his wife. I'm so glad our kids came into our lives, he thought, grinning. Middle Aldera. After Detective Sukuchi arrived at the middle school, his colleague All Might asked him to look into a case involving his successor, Midoriya, and a child named Bakugo. He said, maybe it looks better on the inside, as he stepped out of his car and took in the dilapidated school. As he entered, he saw that things were much worse. The lockers were covered in graffiti, there were numerous holes of varying sizes in the walls, the students were unruly and impolite, the ceiling tiles were missing, and some of them were even acting out their eccentricities in the hallways. He arrived at the principal's office and knocked on the door, thinking, what kind of school is this? As Sukuchi entered the room, which was adorned with numerous photographs and other mementos, the principal said, come in. He said calmly, so to what do I owe the pleasure of you coming to our school? As he produced two pictures that the principal recognized but maintained a composed demeanor, Sukuchi stated, yes, I've come because I'm doing an investigation between two students that had previously attended this school. He remarked, what seems to be the problem? The principal sighed as he stood up and peered out his window. Well, one of the teachers of UA had recently discovered that one of their student records might have misplaced information them, and I would want to know the reason, Sukuchi informed him. Sukuchi looked at the principal and thought, he's telling the truth, but why? Look, I'm not going to lie, we did tamper with both of Bakugo and Midoriya records. As Sukuchi nodded, the principal turned to face him and said, I know you've got a lie-detecting quirk, I'm a huge fan of detectives and solving mysteries myself. The principal sighed and turned to face Sukuchi, who asked, so why did you do it? Look, the reason we did what we did is because this school is run down and falling apart. Before Bakugo left, all of our funding had gone to trying to replace and repair everything he blew up in anger. The headmaster continued, we tried to fix his attitude, calling his mother, putting him in counseling, but he would just blow up in his face, and then went on to say, the teachers just gave up on him. As Sukuchi continued to stare at him, he's telling the truth, the principal went on, but what about Midoriya? Once we heard he was applying to UA, we figured that if he gets into UA they could probably straighten him out more than we ever could, and if he becomes a top hero and the media finds out he went to our middle school, we could possibly get a boost in funding to fix this place up, he concluded. Look, we didn't expect Midoriya to actually get into UA cause he was quirkless. So it was a surprise to us, the principal responded. We tried to keep him from being for his own safety. Being a hero is dangerous, but being a quirkless hero is suicide, so the principal stopped and continued, we let the other student bully him so he can realize that him being a hero would have been the death of him, that it would have been impossible, plus if he would have died in the exam we would have taken the blame cause we allowed him to apply for the hero course. The head of school concluded. Did Bakugo also take in this? Sukuchi frowned as he asked. Yes, he was the main one. Since he and Midoriya knew each other the longest, the teachers and I figured that maybe Bakugo could get it through Midoriya's head, said the principal. So we let Bakugo bully and tease Midoriya in order to protect him. Sukuchi asked him, so it must have shocked you that he actually got into the UA hero course. We thought it might have been a fluke that they allowed Midoriya to enter the hero course, so we either thought that the UA teachers will realize he's quirkless and kick him out, or we try to pull him out. But once we saw the sports festival and Midoriya actually has a quirk now, we decided to drop it. The principal went on to say, honestly, here at Aldera Middle none of our past students have gotten into UA before, some of them did the exam but all of them have failed, so once word gets around that two of our students had gotten into UA, we're sure that our funding will increase, the principal concluded. As he looked down in sorrow, Sukuchi asked, so do you regret it allowing your students to pick on Midoriya because he wanted to be a hero even though he was quirkless? I do. Midoriya was a nice kid, always kept moving forward, but life was just unfair to him. The principal said, and the room fell silent once more. Sukuchi stood up and made his way to the door, saying, I think I got what I needed here, I'll be visiting the other teachers as well and have a chat with them. As Sukuchi stopped before leaving, the principal said, wait. If you see Midoriya again, tell him, I'm sorry, the principal said, and the detective nodded before leaving. Department of UA Studios. You're still trying to copy, All Might told Midoriya as he stood outside the studio department door, gazing at his glove and recalling the conversation 2 weeks prior. Izuku also reflected on his most recent training session with his children, during which he discovered that he needed to gradually increase the percentage in order to become accustomed to it. As they made their way back inside, Nana said to him, you're still missing something, father. You've learned that you don't have to stay at 5% all the time, but you're still missing something else. As they left him to think that evening, Toshi said, don't worry, Dad. You'll get soon enough. Izuku pondered, They must have a brace of some sort to strengthen my arms, or I could probably ask Melissa if she can make me one. I need to move quickly to raise OFA to a higher percentage and also figure out how to use it in a final move, or else I'm going to fall behind everyone else again. Even he didn't notice the three figures approaching him, so he kept thinking. As they were on their way to the development studio for costume upgrades, Iida asked Uraraka, I see you've been focusing on making your body float. Nana Hole chose to accompany them in order to see how her sister was doing. Uraraka clarified, yep, if I can increase my mobility, I can use the martial arts skills I learned from my internship. Plus Toshi and Recovery Girl have been helping me a lot as well, I'm able to stay much longer in the air now, she said, referring to the pressure points and available nausea medication she has been seeing a Recovery Girl for the past few weeks. Uraraka asked the engine quirk user, how about you? Iida clarified, it's pretty easy, I want to lessen the Recipro's disadvantages. It's really interesting to see the progress of you all before everyone became top heroes in my time, Nana stated to them. Surely, Iida replied, so why have you chosen to accompany us to the development studio? Nana told them, I wanted to check up on my sister, but she was also checking in on the progress she had requested from Aoi. When Ochako saw her husband, she ran to him and exclaimed, hey look, it's Deku. Iida then told her not to run in the hallways. When Izuku saw her, Ochako yelled, hey Deku, all you also here for costume improvements. Oh hey Ocha, boom. Before Izuku could finish, the doors were blown open by a massive explosion. Nana merely sighed as the explosion simply blew away their green-haired friend, but Iida and Uraraka were appalled. As a voice called out from the studio, the smoke inside the room dissipated. Melissa, wearing a long white lab coat and safety goggles over her head, said, Hatsume, are you okay? I told you not to overload it and look what happened to you and your gadget, Melissa said, placing her hands on her hips. As she raised herself slightly again to realize she was on top of someone, Hatsume remarked, ha ha ha. Failure is the mother of invention, Melly. Thomas Edison once said that. Just because a creation doesn't work as intended doesn't mean the effort is wasted. Melissa remarked, well at least you lasted 4 weeks without making a huge explosion, since she was closely monitoring Mei's activities during her time at UA. Izuku let out a groan as he felt a familiar weight on his chest that was both light and heavy. When he opened his eyes, he could feel Hatsume's breast against his chest. Izuku would have been alarmed by their intimacy and softness in a more normal setting, but by this point, he had grown accustomed to it, as he would wake up to girls cuddling him like a pillow. After calming down and turning his head away from them, Izuku said, hey Hatsume, how have you been today? He was blushing a little. He jiggled his breasts a little as she sat up on his lap and said, oh hey husband, when did you get here? Uraraka, who was observing the two, took notice of this and asked the pink-hair inventor, Hatsume, are you not wearing a bra again? As Izuku, Ochako, and Melissa started living in the same room, they noticed well, more Ochako and Mela saw that Hatsume would frequently, whether on purpose or by accident, forget to wear a bra. As she got off Izuku, Hatsume exclaimed, whoops, it looks like I forgot. But you know got to let the girls breathe, she said, heading back inside as the others watched. While Nana approached her mother and asked, Mother, is Aoi in here with you? Uraraka and Iida went over to help Deku get off the ground. Melissa pointed to her sister disassembling a failed invention next to a massive stack of various devices and said, yes, she's over there in the back corner where Hatsume keeps her failed inventions. While everyone else was discussing costume upgrades with Melissa, Hatsume, and Powerloader, Nana went to her sister. Nana inquired, so, how are things going with the trackers and dart gun? As she brought over a tray containing 3 small round objects no larger than a small blueberry and a dart gun that was smaller and narrower than her mother's net capture gun, Aoi remarked, oh, they're already done. She placed them on the table and said, here they are. As Nana held the dart gun and aimed it at the wall to get a feel for it, Aoi asked her, also I thought you were helping Kirishima with his thing. She informed her, not today, I give him today to work on himself. Gamma Gym. Boom boom boom. Kirishima tanked another of Bakugo's explosions and said, come on, Bakugo, give me everything you got. He chose to test his durability against Bakugo because Nana allowed him to train on his. Bakugo agreed because his ectoplasm clones were constantly being destroyed. Bakugo yelled, die, as he threw another massive explosion at Kirishima, but Kirishima saw that he had not retreated even an inch. As he looked to see Bakugo still standing in the same spot, Kirishima said, I guess training with Nana paid off. Now I'm not even moving a bit when I get hit. Maybe I should get some shoes that will help me stand my ground, he said, oblivious to Bakugo's irate expression. Bakugo pointed one of his gauntlets at the red-haired boy who was about to pull the pin and said, okay, if you think you can tank my hits, let's see about this now. Kirishima smiled and steadied himself before shouting, bring it on. Die! Bakugo screamed while he yanked the pin off his gauntlets, and Kirishima closed his eyes in anticipation of the massive explosion, which never materialized. Instead of the powerful explosion that was expected, a stream of bubbles blew out of the gauntlets. Kirishima laughed at what she saw. Kirishima teased, Gee, Bakugo is one of your ultimate moves called Bubble Bomb, which infuriated the blonde. Bakugo screamed, shut the hell up, as a bubble burst in front of his face and others floated around them. Fucking bubbles. Bakugo screamed angrily as he wiped them off, removed his gauntlets, and held them upside down. A Likita dish soap, it turned out, started to pour out of them. Bakugo was furious that someone had tampered with his gauntlets and that he would now have to send them back to be cleaned and repaired immediately. Who did this? I will have their heads, he said. He said, they're dead when I find out who did this, and turned to leave. Make a wild guess. Department of the studio. As she held a small tablet, always said, so here's the pad for the trackers. With this you will be able to maneuver them easily, and you will also be able to see what they see as well with the camera I put on them. Watch, she said, turning on the tablet. The three round objects, which resemble tiny crabs, started to tremble as they spread out what looked like 8 legs with tiny pincers in front. As the crab trackers started to dart around the table, Nana remarked, I see you modeled them after tiny crabs. As she forced them to crawl up her arm and into her hair, Aoi remarked, yep, I called them scuttle crabs and they're tiny, fast, durable, and once they latch onto something they won't let go. They quickly vanished and were inconspicuous. Impressive, but would they be able to stay on Yori's mother when she gets rid of her disguise? Nana said to them. When Aoi saw her mother putting her father in a large buff suit and nearly severing him, she winced and said, yep, I'm testing them on a similar substance so they should stay on. Although Nana noticed it too, she ignored them. So when are you going to let Aizawa and Dad know about the plan at the exams? Aoi asked her. Nana took the pad and began transferring the tiny crab trackers from Aoi hair onto the table, saying, I'll let them know later, but for now we need to focus. Help Dad get better quickly at OFA. Aoi said, ooh, before I forget, and proceeded to retrieve something from the file cabinet. As she was doing that, Nana listened to Powerloader tell the Midoriya, Uraraka, and Iida that Hatsume was one of his best students and had a sharp mind, so he could teach her anything. When she returned, Aoi showed her a few papers she was holding. Before accepting them, Nana gazed down at them. What are these? She asked, before Aoi grinned. Aoi made the hand gesture of crabs crawling and said, oh, these are the warranties and safety guidelines you have to sign off on just in case the scuttle crabs kind of go haywire and try to crawl in your brain, take over your mind. With a sigh, Nana took the pen that Aoi had given her and started to sign the documents. She muttered, loud enough for her sister to hear, you and your AI. Aoi said, you mean my Aoi? Nana uttered the words, right, your Aoi, with a hint of irony. Every member of the family is aware of Aoi's passion for creating robots, particularly AI, or Aoi as she referred to them. They were certainly impressive, but they had a tendency to lose control and nearly destroy everything before their parents did it. They saw Iida being blasted against the ceiling with what looked like boosters on his arms, and they heard Ochako and Izuku shout, Iida. Melissa shook her and said, Hatsume, shut them off. Hatsume simply gave the boy a crazy smile and said, what, I'm just showing them my babies. Melissa gave her a stern look that said, stop messing around. Hatsume uttered the words, fine, as she pressed a button on a remote control to turn off the booster. Iida instantly fell to the ground, face down. Iida thought to himself, this pink-haired mad woman has once again wounded my honor. As she started writing in a notebook, Hatsume remarked, looks like this baby still needs more testing. With haste, Iida stood up again and began chopping the air with her arms. He addressed the girl, who turned to face him, saying, I told you that my quirk was in my legs and that I only needed a better cooling system. Why would you put that heinous device on me? Well, you said you wanted to cool off your legs, so why don't you run on your arms instead, she replied. Powerloader slapped Hatsume on the head and said, Hatsume, you need to stop playing around and start listening to your clients. Izuku considered what Hatsume had just said as he was being reprimanded. Izuku uttered the words, "That's it," aloud. Everyone turned to watch Midoriya, who was giddy with excitement as he rushed to grab hold of Hatsume's shoulders. "You're a genius, Hatsume," he said, giving her a tight hug. He then ran to Iida, saying, "Iida, you must teach me, please," as he approached her. Iida backed up a little, wondering what had happened to his friend, and asked, "What do you mean teach you?" Ochako tapped the girl's shoulders and flinched at the touch, saying, "Hey Hatsume, you okay?" "Huh," she said, turning to face Uraraka, who had a worried expression on her face. Melissa remarked, "You just froze up after Midoriya hugged you," as she was perplexed as to why. And nothing," was Hatsume's response as she covered her face with her hands and turned away. With a smug expression, Uraraka teases her, "No one wonders Mina likes teasing, does this? It's powerful." She says, "Ooh, I get it, you're so used to feeling up on Midoriya, but when he hugs you, you freeze up." Melissa swooned at her friend with the pink hair, saying, "Ah, that's adorable." Hatsume was still flushed when she yelled at them, "Shut help." Aoi and Nana were over, watching the entire scene. "I didn't think Midoriya would suddenly embrace Mom in that way," Aoi remarked, placing her hand beneath her chin. As they continued to gaze at the group, Nana concluded, "Well, he was in an excited mode, so he'll eventually realize what he did, but know that he has discovered he can use his legs. He has taken the next step in his training." After 4 days, he asked, "Aizawa, how are things progressing?" as All Might entered the gym. As he glanced at him, Aizawa said, "You're back again, we're getting there." He observed, "You seem very well. That gummy Nana gave me weeks ago did wonders for me," All Might said, puffing up. He lifted his shirt to reveal that his torso was completely fine, save for the faded scar that was still there. As he deflated his back, he concluded, "I checked in with Recovery Girl and my internal organs are completely back, so I'm able to hold meals now. But I'm probably going to stay like this and use my All Might form for party tricks and stuff. It's about time people got to know the real me." As he walked off in the direction of the students, Aizawa nodded. With the Dark One, Tokiyami commanded, "Now onto me Shadow." "Right." Dark Shadow complied, covering his host's body as Midnight gave them the thumbs up and Yori gazed at them with a starry face. "By covering myself with Dark Shadow, my strength is enhanced. I'm better at close combat. I call it Abyssal Black Body," Tokiyami exclaimed. Midnight told him, "It looks good, but try to make it easier to call out." As Dark Shadow revealed Tokiyami, Yori approached them and petted her head while she meowed softly, saying, "It looks so cool." Tokiyami questioned, "Dark Shadow, why are you petting her?" As he continued to pet Yori, Dark Shadow turned to face him and said, "She's a kitty, why wouldn't I?" As they observed Bakugo, Aizawa clarified, "Some of them have finally solidified their fighting styles and there are those who are putting together special moves." Bakugo blasted an explosion beam at a concrete wall, saying, "Now, from my entire hand, put a blast from a single concentrated point." Bakugo cheered, AP shot, and grinned, "I did it." All Might said, "No surprise, young Bakugo is doing well," and Aizawa concurred, but they gave him a worried glance. Last week, the two were all in the teacher's office when Detective Sukuchi returned with his report. "Well, here's everything I got from that school and let me tell you it's a mess," Sukuchi said, placing a report file on the desk. As Aizawa picked up the report and started reading it, All Might questioned, "How bad is it?" Well, most of teachers were in on messing with Midoriya's record, but they also let some of the students bully him as well, including that Bakugo kid. "What?" All Might slammed his hands on the table and screamed. Aizawa read aloud the report and asked, "What kind of school was this?" "Messing with his grades, allowing students to both verbally and physically harm Midoriya, how is this school able to keep running?" All Might asks himself, "Why didn't young Midoriya tell me about this? I can't believe it." Aizawa questioned him, "Well, did you ask him?" "Well," All Might said, keeping his head down, "No, I didn't." As one of the air conditioning vents failed and felt depressed, Aizawa concluded, "Well, whatever his reason was, it wasn't very logical of him. But the question is, where do we go from here?" he asked. As he emerged from the air vents, Nedu remarked, "Well, it's simple really. I'm personally going to shut down that middle school, quirkless or not. It's still no way to treat a student, especially one of mine, and as for Midoriya and Bakugo, keep a closer eye of them," he advised them. As Aizawa and All Might concurred, Nezu concluded, "If anything goes wrong between the two, I want you to bring them to me and we'll sort them out. Sukuchi asked, why was he in the vents? But received no response. Return to the present. Bakugo shouted, hey, watch out. As a rock that had broken off the wall he had blasted was falling in All Might's direction. Midoriya leapt into the air before Aizawa could react, and All Might gave him a slight smile as he recalled how Midoriya had been when they first met on that roof. With one kick, Midoriya broke the rock and landed as he skidded to a halt, shouting, smash. Midoriya remarked, Hatsume did a great job, I'll call this new look, Costume Gamma. His new outfit was identical, but he wore iron soles that served as extra armor and cleats, as well as braces to support his arms. That was close, All Might, Midoriya inquired anxiously. With a cocky, I'm all right, he flexed and let out one of his trademark laughs. I am, you could say, ha ha ha, while he debuffs. All Might, is it okay for you to do that? Midoriya asked, disregarding the cheesy joke. He whispered into Midoriya's ear, it's okay, young Midoriya. That gummy Nana gave me fixed me up real good. All Might called out to him, sorry for the scare, Bakugo, but Bakugo just stared at him before saying to Deku, you better watch yourself, All Might, before exploding off. With a new pair of squares glasses on and a launcher of some sort on his arm, Kaminari praised him, saying, dude Midoriya, what was that, you swooped in and waste that rock. With only the addition of black sleeves to his arms and no shirt, Kirishima's costume didn't change much, so he asked, I thought you were more of a puncher. I am, or I was. It's these new souls Hatsume suggested them. He gestured toward them. I think they'll really up my game, plus Ida's been teaching me how to use my body better for this new fighting style. I've only just figured out what direction I'm going, but I still have to work to do. Nothing I would call an ultimate move yet, explained Midoriya. I don't know, based on that kick, I'd say you're more further ahead than you think, so you should be ready for this test, assured the Almighty. They noticed Melissa and Nana approaching them while Melissa was writing in a notebook. Well, it was impressive, they said. So, how do the souls feel like Deku? Melissa asked him. As Melissa scribbled in her notebook, Midoriya told her, they feel great, they have a good weight to them, and don't feel like they slow me down at all. Good, the material we used for them is light but very durable, and along with your strength it's going to be very hard-hitting, Melissa concluded, closing the notebook. I see you two got a costume update as well, Nana remarked after noticing Kaminari and Kirishima's new appearance. Kirishima pointed to the other students in the class, each of whom was wearing a different piece of equipment, and remarked, you bet and we aren't the only ones. As he demonstrated it to her, Kaminari said, this new special is so cool you want to see it, it's a serious power boost. When a new voice said, that's enough, Class 1A, Class B is scheduled to use this training room every afternoon, Nana responded, maybe later. The teacher, Vald King, who was at the entrance and taught the 1B students, said this. Midoriya uttered, Class B, in surprise. Kaminari remarked dismayedly, man, crap timing, as Nana squinted and approached her mother while simultaneously observing the entrance. Vlad King commanded, get your children out of our way, Eraser. You're not trying to kick us out early when we have 10 whole minutes left, are you? Asked Aizawa. Monoma jokingly said, hey, did you hear? The licensing exam has a 50% pass rate, which means your entire class might fail. Midoriya recalled, I never remember how much this guy despises our class. Kaminari questioned Kendo, wait, is that Monoma's hero costume? Monoma was only sporting a tuxedo and had 3 watches fastened to his belt. Well, since his quirk is copy he didn't need anything too eccentric, just that, said Kendo. Kaminari questioned, this is him toned down, while Monoma laughed uncontrollably in the background. As he and Yori observed the chaos, Tokiyami said, unfortunately, his observations are correct, if we're taking the same exam, then we'll crush each other, that's the hand fate will dealt us. And why we won't be in the same location, our classes are applied to different spots, explained Aizawa. There are 2 exams days, in June and in September, the tests are held in 3 different places, we don't want students from the same place fighting, we'll split you up, each school has at most 1 class at a single location. Vlad King stated to them. Monoma sighed with relief that he wouldn't have to take the same test as Class 1A. He was going to make fun of them some more, but then he noticed Melissa standing by a wall with a girl who appeared to be a smaller version of herself. Melissa was a tall, attractive girl with long, blonde hair and glasses. Well, Well, Monoma exclaimed as he strode toward them and rested his elbow against the wall. Monoma gave Melissa a smug glare and said, "What's a pretty girl like you doing here? Come over and watch us 1B guys. It's not surprising, we are more superior than those 1A wimps." Melissa asked him, who are you? And questioned why he was speaking in such a manner. "My apologized, I'm Monoma Nedio, I'm part of the more superior class 1B, she replied. She started to say, "Well, I'm Melissa she," but Monoma cut her off, saying, "Melissa is a pretty name for a girl to match, and who might this be, your younger sister?" Monoma turned to Nana. He told himself, "If I play my cards right, these girls will be putty in my hands." When Monoma heard her, his entire world fell apart. "I'm Nana Midoriya, daughter of the Izuku Midoriya and Melissa Shield," Nana said, smiling and closing her eyes. He muttered, Midoriya, before he could actually see the girl well enough to compare her to the boy. Monoma quickly got over the shock. "I can't believe that Green Gremlin had his way with you and having you have his bastard of child. Don't worry, I'll make sure he pays for what he has done to." Monoma kept going. "I knew he wasn't a real hero, he's just a villain in disguise. I bet he had something to do with the camp attack." Nana saw Mother becoming very agitated before she calmed down and smiled, thinking, "Does this fool even know how? That doesn't make sense." She said calmly, "Hey Monoma, was it?" "Yes, Melissa dear," said Monoma, smiling and with his eyes closed. Melissa kicked Monoma in the crotch after winding her foot all the way back and sending it straight to him. Nana grinned at the boy who was lying on the ground, clutching his crotch in agony, and said, "Ooh, right in the plums." As she gazed down at him, she thought, pathetic. Melissa walked off without admitting that she had just called Izuku her husband. "Never say anything bad about my husband again or I'll personally rip your arm off and beat you with it like a Pia plus or minus Ada," she said. As her daughter followed her out, she said, "Come on, Nana, we'd better get these notes to Hatsume." Monoma moaned, still holding his crotch. "Ugh." Assistant studio. Melissa entered and saw Hatsume hovering with her hover shoes. "Hey Hatsume, we're back, and I got the notes on the soles," she said. As Melissa started to tell her, Hatsume said, "Hey Mel, just put them over, so how were they in action?" Nana saw that Aoi was assisting Powerloader with moving various sized boxes. Nana asked them, "What's in those boxes?" While Powerloader set one down. As a boxed knock spilled what looked like a storage pack with small batteries attached, Powerloader remarked, "Oh, these are just gadgets and projects from my old students who have already graduated and moved on. They usually forget about them, so I just keep them around for the other students, but if no one needs them I'll just scrape them." Nana picked it up and looked at it, then held it out and asked, "What's this gadget?" As he picked up the remaining contents that had fallen out, Powerloader concluded, "Oh, it's some sort of absorption battery pack. Supposedly it absorbs the energy that comes from energy-emitting quirks and can be stored to be used either as a battery or be used to adjust the output and send the energy out at either high or low power. It's a pack that can store energy," Nana thought as she held the device in her hand. "And these must also store the energy on a smaller level while making sure the actual storage still has power left over. Stores energy only from energy-emitting quirks, can be used to adjust the output as well," Nana thought as she took out one of the smaller batteries. Before long, Nana had a brilliant idea. Nana said, "Powerloader, could I please have this device?" As he turned back to see that she had disappeared without a sound, he cautioned her, "Yeah, go ahead, it was going to get scraped anyway, just be careful, the one who made couldn't get it to work because the energy he put in it would always overload it." Before he shrugged, he asked himself, "Where'd she go?" Later that evening, there was a gathering of the girls in the dorm common room. Mina complained, "Man, does it have to be this hard?" Hagakure asserted, "Intensive training isn't called that for nothing." "That's true, but it's strange to think there's only a week before the exam." Yaoyorozu replied. Hagakure inquired, "How's your ultimate move coming along, Yaomomo?" "There's something I really want to do, but my body isn't ready, I need time to develop my quirk and improve my general endurance," stated Yaoyorozu. Hagakure asked her froggy friend, "How about you, Sue? I perfected a move that'll make me even more frog-like than before, I'm sure even you'd be surprised, Toru," Sue stated. As she brought snacks and sat with them, Inko said, "Here you go, everyone, tea and cookies." They all said, "Thank you," while gorging themselves on the snacks. As they nodded, Inko remarked, "Wow, you must be working yourselves to the bone." Jiro took another bite of her cookie and said, Yeah, we have to make sure we are prepared for this test. As she attracted the attention of girls, Inko laughed and remarked, this reminds me of my sisters who would always come home from overworking themselves for their hero training. While Inko nodded, Mina questioned, you have sisters who are heroes? Toru said, that's amazing, who are they? As Inko took out her phone and scrolled to a picture of a taller Inko holding a small 3-year-old Izuku in her arms. One of the women was a very tall woman with short dark emerald hair and a dark emerald dress, a white fur coat, and 3 pearl necklaces around her neck. The other was a much shorter woman with short light green hair that curled at the ends, wearing a black dress with a split waist. Wow, those are your sisters, how come we never seen them in Japan? Jiro replied. Inko addressed them, saying, yep, my 2 older sisters, Fubuki and Tatsumaki, the psychic sisters. As she put her phone away, she remarked, they are international pro heroes, so they work all over the world and don't stay in one place at a time. You know, I did see them once coming to I Island one time for a showcase, but they were only there for a week and left, Melissa said. Uraraka questioned her, why does Deku never bring them up? As she sipped her tea, Inko remarked, international heroes usually have to cut ties with their families to avoid them being in danger of international villains. So we rarely get contacts from them, but they do occasionally send us holiday cards, she said, taking out from her purse a number of postcards featuring her sisters from various countries. The assortment of postcards was examined by the girls. Toru held up a picture of Fubuki and Tatsumaki holding a koala bear and remarked, wow, this one's from Australia. Hatsume had one floating around Big Ben with them, saying, and this one's from London. Uraraka grinned at the photo of them standing in front of a volcano and said, this one is Hawaii. While Iida was assisting Midoriya with his kicking training outside the dorm, the girls kept looking at every picture. So like this, was how Midoriya described it while he was moving his body on the ground and kicking. Precisely, Iida replied, I'm quite jealous that you're able to pick up on this new technique Midoriya in such a quick manner, he concluded. Knowing that Midoriya claimed to be an excellent teacher made Iida feel a little proud. Well, I had a great teacher, plus I'm good at picking things up real quickly, Midoriya said. That's true, at the very beginning of school you were constantly breaking your bones, but now it looks like you have got complete control, Iida stated to him. With a back rub, Midoriya said, yeah, don't remind me. He said to Iida, you think we'll be ready for the test next week? Honestly, I have no idea. We're dealing with other kids who have more experience and different kinds of quirks, Iida stated to him. Iida looked at him and said, I know, but I can't help but be excited though. This is a chance for us to see how far we come and get to see the different kind of quirks, Midoriya said. Iida questioned, you really like quirks, huh Midoriya? I do. Ever since I was a little kid I loved quirks and wrote a ton of things about the ones I've seen, said Midoriya to him. I see you must have been excited when you got yours, Iida replied. As he examined his hand, Midoriya remarked, it was like a blessing to me. You certainly have a different way of looking at things, Midoriya, Iida remarked, considering it a blessing. I do. Yep, but come on, let's get back to it. We've been on break long, let's get back to training, Iida replied to him. Yes, sir, was Midoriya's salute. 10 a.m. Ua dorms. Everyone was off doing their own thing on a Saturday morning. Some chose to spend this day relaxing in their rooms to catch up on sleep, others went to the gym to work out, and still others chose to watch TV and unwind in the common area. Toshi shouted, "Aaooooooooii," as his voice reverberated throughout the structure. While sitting on the couch watching morning cartoons with Yori, Mina, Denki, Kirishima, and Toru, Aoi flinched while eating a pudding cup. When Toshi saw his sister sitting on the couch, he rushed over to her and came crashing down the stairs. Without getting her hair in it, Aoi wrapped her hair around the cup to conceal it. "Aoi," Toshi said angrily, but he remained calm. "Have you been eating my pudding cups?" he asked. "Who, me never," was Aoi's attempt to avoid coming across as guilty. As everyone watched them, Yori whispered to them, "Toshi really loves his pudding." Since Toru also loved her pudding and wouldn't forgive anyone who ate it, she said, "Ah, I understand completely." "Really?" Toshi replied. "I brought a box of Puddles cups that had 12 of them last week during the grocery shopping trip, and I only ate 3 and there are only 5 left," and kept explaining, "So where did the other 4 go?" As her older sister passed them on her way out with a box of tools and parts, Aoi remarked, "I don't know, maybe Nana ate some." Nana said casually as she left, don't involve me in this, and don't you dare try to place the blame on Yori. Toshi had an idea as soon as he saw that Aoi's hair was balled up in one place. He pointed to the balled up area of his hair and asked, "Aoi, what's that in your hair?" Aoi began to perspire anxiously as he saw where his finger was pointed. "Oh, that's this new hair product I'm trying out, what do you think?" he said, hoping Toshi would fall for the small lie. "Aoi," he said, surrounded by a gloomy aura, which he must not have believed. Aoi laughed as she ate the pudding and Toshi on her tail. "Welp, I tried," she said as she hurriedly got up, grabbed the pudding cup, and fled from Toshi using her hair as a means of propulsion. Toshi shouted, "I'm going to tie you up in your own hair when I get you," and he ran after her, abandoning the group. The young cat girl nodded when Mina asked, "Does that always happen, Yori? Do you guys want to go play outside with me?" Yori asked them with her best kitty cat eyes as she peered out the window and saw that it was sunny and bright outside with a few clouds in the sky. Mina remarked, "Yeah, sure, sounds like fun," and Kirishima concurred. Toru concurred, saying, "Count me in." As Kirishima pulled him out, Kaminari whimpered, "Ah, do I have to? I want to be lazy inside." As Kaminari moaned, Kirishima said, "Come on, you don't want to stay inside all day, the fresh air can do you some good." As he looked at the invisible girl, Toru said, "Hey Todoroki, you want to come play with us?" Todoroki soon came downstairs dressed in his day clothes. He questioned them, "Aren't you all a little too old to be playing?" Mina lifted Yori by her armpits and said, "Ah, don't be so moody. We're just going to be playing with Yori, come on, how can you say no to this adorable?" Mina giggled and gave Yori a little shake. The words, "please," triggered Yori's cuteness. After glancing at her, Todoroki felt obliged to participate. As they all cheered and went outside, he said, "Okay, I'll join, but please pardon me as I don't know how to play well." Kirishima said to him, "Well, then we'll just have to show you." The room of Midoriya. Izuku looked at his all-might clock and saw that it was 10:25 a.m. "You girls want to go ahead and get up or are you fine right here?" he whispered to them so as not to wake them up. Midoriya and his harem were still sleeping in the bed, with Melissa and Ochako embracing his arms and Hatsume covering him with her entire body. Melissa cuddled up to him and said, "A few more minutes." Ochako yawned, and Hatsume was still asleep after staying up the night before inventing. Izuku closed his eyes and remarked, "Okay, I suppose a few more minutes wouldn't hurt." Mommy. Nana was making her way to the support studios through the UA building while carrying the charge pack, as she now called it, and the box of parts. She thought to herself, "I've already checked the charge pack and it looks pretty fine, but Powerloader told me that it can't contain the energy for long without exploding, so I might have to either reinforce the material or parts or just reverse engineer it to find the problem." Nana kept thinking, "I need to find a test subject to help with energy as well, and no one in Father Class or Class 1B fits the quirk I need, so I should ask Powerloader if he knows anyone." As she continued down the hall, she started to feel as though she was being watched and followed. Nana stopped walking and called them out, saying, "I know you've been following me, so show me your true form." It felt more like a following of taking interest than a bad following like a potential street robber. Nana recognized the older girl who emerged from a corner and said, "Well, hello Najire Hato, to what do I owe the pleasure?" The girl had light blue hair. Najire approached the young girl, asking how she knew she was being followed. "Hey, how did you know I was there and also how did I know my name?" Najire asked. "For the first question I knew it would only be a matter of time before you take interest in me and my siblings ever since we entered the school, and for the second question you're a very popular hero," she replied. "Siblings. The short woman you were with your mother was cool," Najire's eyes light up. "So those other 3 kids were your siblings?" Before she remembered something, Nana said, "Kind of. Her quirk wave motion can convert her own vitality into powerful energy shockwaves she can be useful from," she said. Hey. Najire prodded the girl several times in the shoulder, saying, "You kind of look like that new girl Melissa. Are you her younger sister or what?" Quote, "How about this? I'll answer all of your questions if you help me with a project I'm working on," Nana said, ignoring Najire's prodding. The words, "Really you'll answer all of my questions," made Najire's eyes light up with excitement. Nana gave the girl a salute and said, "Scout's honor." Najire inquired, "Were you in a Girl Scout troop?" "No, not really, but follow me," Nana said as she and Najire, who had already begun to ask questions, walked down the hall. Office of Teachers. Izuku teachers Mr. Aizawa and All Might called Inko into the office today, stating that there was a problem with her son, but they did not explain why they needed her. As she knocked on the door and heard someone enter, Inko thought to herself, "Oh, I hope Izuku's grades haven't fallen." As she took the seat in front of them, All Might said, "Hello Inko, please come sit with us." She also noticed a file on the table. Aizawa and All Might were at a table with a seat open for her. Inko said, "Pardon me, what's this about?" As the two exchanged glances before turning around. Initially, Aizawa was, "Mrs. do you have any information about the middle school that Midoriya attended?" Aizawa slid the file to Inko, who was perplexed. "No, not really. Izuku didn't really tell me. He was always private when I asked him, so I didn't pry. What's this about?" She concluded. As Aizawa read it to Inko, she explained, "This is an investigation report from the school on your son and his personal records. The school was tampering with your son's records as well, allowing him to be bullied by his peers and Bakugo," she concluded, and Inko looked horrified. Why? She cried. "Why would they do this to my son? He has never done anything wrong in his life." "Believe me Inko, I know Midoriya could never do anything wrong in his life, but," All Might attempted to keep going, but Aizawa finished for them. "But the school thought if they let this happen to him it would have stopped him from trying to get himself killed, but I say it was pretty illogical for them. I had no idea this was going at his school, but to also know that Katsuki also bullied him as well." Inko continued to cry. "That does bring up another question. What do you know about Bakugo and Midoriya relationship?" she responded to All Might. "Well, they used to play together when they were younger, but now that I think about it was mostly Izuku wondering what Katsuki was up to, so I just usually called his mother to find out." Inko went on, "But after they turned 4 and Katsuki got his quirk and Izuku didn't, they've been distance." She began to cry as she realized that Izuku had been bullied by Katsuki. "As they got older I started to see burns and marks on Izuku's clothes and his skin. He would always just play it off as rough housing or falling down, but I had my suspicions." As Aizawa stared at the two and sniffed at what she saw, All Might stood up and went to console her. She asked, "Am I a bad mother?" No, you're not." All Might replied, "You were doing your best. It was my fault for not looking into their relationship. I made an assumption that they weren't on good terms," she was told by All Might. "If you ask me, it was kinda Midoriya's fault." Both of them looked at Aizawa. "He didn't inform anyone about this problem, not any of you two, the US staff, or the authorities. He let them happen to himself, but I won't know for sure until we get a clear answer from him." Inko asked him, "So what's going to happen now?" "Well, we are already looking into shutting down the school your son went to, as well as keeping a closer eye on Bakugo and Midoriya also. So if anything major happens between the two we will bring them in for individual interrogation," Aizawa told them as he got up to leave. "I know this is a lot to take in, Mrs. Midoriya, but honestly I'll be upset too if I ever found out about this to my own kids, so I'll leave you two alone," he concluded as he left. All Might. Inko turned to face him and asked, "Why did Izuku allow this to occur?" As the two sat in silence, he concluded, "Honestly, I don't know." Aoi and Toshi. In an attempt to escape her older brother's wrath, Aoi was fleeing from him. "Come on, it was just a few pudding cups," she said to him as he floated quickly in her direction, but she was able to avoid him by navigating her hair in the narrow hallway. Turning around, Toshi screamed, "Just a few. Damn it, I can't fly too well in narrow hallways," he concluded as Aoi began to run once more. In order to avoid upsetting Iida, Jiro was carrying her guitar as they ran through nearly every floor of the dorm. They were able to avoid hitting Kota's rabbit until they reached the final floor. As Aoi turned to face her pursuer, she didn't realize she had struck someone hard, sending them flying through the air and slamming into the wall. She paused to check who she had struck, but Toshi tackled her to the ground. When Toshi heard a familiar irate yell, he was about to use his quirk to make her own gravity stronger in order to keep her motionless. "I've got you now," he said. After being knocked against a wall and suffering a few minor injuries, Bakugo yelled, "You damn brats. You two are so dead." After exchanging glances, Toshi and Aoi got up from the floor and started laughing. "Oh man, that's so rich," Toshi exclaimed. When Bakugo approached the two and grabbed them by the collar of their shirts, he became agitated and said, "He actually thinks he's a threat to us." Both of them stopped laughing at the gesture. Bakugo concluded as the Aoi and Toshi looked down, their eyes obscured by the shadow of their hair. "I don't care who you are and I'm damn sure as hell don't have time for y'all bullshit," but you better know your damn place like your worthless excuse of a father or I'll personally put you there. Aoi's hair started to stand up and tremble like enraged snakes as she said, "Did you hear that, dear brother?" "I did, dear sister. Let's show him his place," Toshi said, using his quirk to give Bakugo a hard slap across the face. "What the hell is this?" Bakugo moaned, furious at having been slapped. He was about to do something when he felt his body growing heavier and heavier until he released the children and lay face down on the ground. "You're placed," Aoi said, bending down to focus on him with her zoom quirk. "You know, even without my zoom quirk, I can still see how much of an asshole you are," she said. Toshi interrupted him, saying, "My quirk allows me to neglect or amplify one's gravity and the drawbacks don't affect me for a good while, so you're stuck there on the ground. When I get out of this all, you'll what?" Toshi said, sitting on Bakugo's back. "I wonder when he's going to realize that he can never beat Dad," Aoi said aloud as she began to twist his hair into tiny braids. "Yep, his quirk is too OP and way cooler," Toshi added. "Leave my hair alone, and what the hell you know about that nerd's quirk?" Bakugo responded. "Why should we tell you what have done to actual earn the right to know it?" Toshi inquired. "Whatever, it doesn't matter, I'm still going to be the #1 hero no matter what future says," Bakugo assured them. "And what will do you when that dream doesn't happen? What, you'll get angry and lash out because the one you deemed as a worthless bug you can crush is far ahead of you," Toshi said to him. Bakugo's eyes widened as he tried to turn his head to face them, only to be met with glowing eyes of yellow and green. "I know what he can do," she said, putting 5 clumsily placed braids in his hair. "He can go take a swan dive off the roof and hope he'll have a better personality in the next life." As Aoi slapped the back of his head and said, "Shush, don't tell him," Toshi informed him, "Yeah, we know about one aspect you should know about our quirk is that memories are passed down." Toshi and Aoi stared at him while Toshi rubbed the back of his head and said, "I'm not G's. So what should we do with him now?" As Bakugo struggled to stand up, Aoi suggested, "I know, let's take him to Yori. She'll love to practice her drawing skills on his face." "Sounds like a great idea, let's do it," Toshi said as he and Aoi descended the stairs together, Aoi pulling Bakugo behind them while wrapping her hair around him. As she looked at her, Toshi said, "You still owe me for my pudding." "Ah, come on, it was just a few cups," complained Aoi. Bakugo had a head-banging trip after Toshi said, "Don't care," and they chose to use the stairs rather than the elevator. "Yori and Associates," Simon says, arms up, Yori yelled in front of the sizable group of heroes undergoing training. Mina, Hagakure, Kirishima, Denki, and Todoroki had spent the entire day playing games with Yori, including tag, leapfrog, hide and seek, and Simon says. Since it appeared to be enjoyable, Sue and Shiro also joined in. With the exception of Todoroki, who remained motionless, everyone jumped when Yori said, "Okay, Simon says jump up and down." As they played all day, everyone saw that Todoroki didn't fully understand some of them, and when Kaminari said, "Let's play leapfrog," Todoroki went back inside right away to get Sue. He asked what it was when they played tag. Yori pouted and glared at the teen with the 2 hairs, asking, "Todoroki, why aren't you doing the things I say?" As they stared at him in disbelief, Todoroki tilted his hand in confusion and said, "We're playing Simon Says, so I waiting for this Simon person to get her and ask why should we do as he says." Kirishima said, "In this game, a Todoroki Yori is Simon." He asked him, "No, her name is Yori, so she shouldn't be called Yori Says." Kaminari responded, "He's got a point," but Shiro gave him a look and told him to stop talking. "Todoroki, I'm not about to explain another kid's game to you," Mina replied, "Man, what kind of childhood did you have?" The doors opened before Todoroki can respond, revealing Toshi and Aoi dragging Bakugo's body outside. Toshi drew her attention by saying, "Hey Yori, this hothead said he wants you to do his makeup for him." "Really?" Yori exclaimed, her ears perking up with anticipation. As she dragged him along, Aoi said, "Yep, he did." Bakugo was flicking his hair braids when Shiro knelt down to him and said, "Don't touch me." Bakugo was furious but still immobile. "Wow, what happened to your hair, dude?" Yori asked Hagakure and Mina if they could help her. "You bet this is going to be so good," Mina said, taking out her phone to take pictures later. Finally, Hagakure said, "I'll get my makeup." Kirishima sat on the grass next to him and asked, "Man Bakugo, how did you get yourself in this situation?" Bakugo remained silent as he watched Aoi bend down to whisper something to Yori, and after she finished, Yori gave him a slightly irate look while silently hissing at him and exposing her sharp teeth like a predator. Nejire and Nana. As Nana was tinkering with the charge back, Nejire said, "Wow, so you and your siblings are from the future, and your dad is that green-haired boy from the sports festival that kept breaking his arms, and he's in a harem with other girls." "Yep," Nana replied, admitting that she wasn't particularly irritated by Nejire's barrage of inquiries. Nejire asked her, "Wow, so what's that like having a big family like that?" Nana gestured toward a screwdriver, which Nejire recognized and proceeded to get for her. Nana concluded her examination of the pack by saying, "It's pretty normal. Ploy relationships are a common thing in our time, so now one's against it and we always look out for each other even though we tend to get on each other's nerves." Nejire said, "Really sounds cool, and tell me about that project you've been working on." "This, my friend, is a charge pack. It's able to store energy from certain emitter quirks," Nana explained, holding the charge back up and demonstrating it to her. She did this by pulling a cable from the side, one end of which led to the pack and the other to a small gun with a tiny satellite dish at the nozzle. Nana held it up and remarked, "I added this part recently to concentrate the energy coming to it." Nejire was shocked to see Nana pointing it at her and asked, "Cool, does it work now and what's it for?" As she turned it on, Nana remarked, "What till the raid arc? And fire your shockwaves at it for the test," she concluded, drawing Nejire's attention. Nejire was careful not to hurt the girl, so she asked, "Are you sure I don't want to hurt you?" As Nejire activated her quirk and prepared to release it, Nana nodded and said, "Go ahead, and how about you aim for the head?" "Okay, but don't blame for what happens next," Nejire said, closing her eyes as she unleashed a shockwave at the girl. When Nana squeezed the trigger, the gun's component began to absorb the energy of the shockwaves, which were so powerful that they pushed her back a little. Despite her difficulty holding her position, Nana continued, saying, "More output," as she glanced at the rear section and saw the indicators approaching maximum capacity. "Okay, that's good," Nana exclaimed as Nejire stopped and turned to face her, still standing. Upon removing the pack, Nana noticed that the energy was fully charged on its back. "What happens now?" Nejire inquired. As the Nejire gazed at her in awe, Nana turned to her and said, "This is exciting. Get excited, Nejire. Because we're going to be experimenting with science," she concluded. 1. A class 3 days prior to the test. In their classroom, everyone was talking to each other about the exam or anything else while they waited for homeroom to begin. Jiro laughed as Toru showed him a picture of Bakugo wearing a disgusting amount of makeup. He had large eyelashes, too much light blue mascara around his eyes, and a lot of pink lipstick on his lips. In other words, he looked trashy. "Oh man, I wish I was there to see it, y'all do his makeup." "I know, right?" Yori went all out, Mina stated. "She almost used up all of Toru's makeup." Toru clarified, "Even though I don't use it very often, I'm not angry." When they were done with him, they dragged him to the common room and left him sitting on a couch, where the heavy gravity still affected him. Bakugo heard them because he was still upset about it. A few of his classmates had passed by, including Kaminari, Kirishima, and Shiro, who made fun of him and took a ton of selfies. Midoriya and his ugly bitches, according to Bakugo, came down and made fun of him. Inko also entered but simply gave him a dismal look before leaving. Todoroki noticed him and asked if he was trying out a new look, and Nana Brat entered with a light-haired girl and smiled amusedly. After a while, he was able to move once more, but he spent the night in his room washing the crud off his face in the bathroom. Bakugo thought to himself, "What the hell do those brats have against me?" As he turned to see Deku speaking to a round face and wearing glasses while icy hot people watched. "Class is about to start. Where is Mr. Aizawa?" Iida asked. "I'm sure he's busy with other stuff," said Midoriya. "We still got 3 days to prepare ourselves for the exam. I'm kinda worried and excited at the same time." "Yeah, me too, but this a chance to see how all of our progress pays off," Uraraka replied. "I wonder what things they'll have due for the exam?" Sue inquired. As soon as the door to the classroom opened, everyone fell silent and went to their desks, expecting to see their ill-prepared teacher crawl in his sleeping bag, but instead they saw Toshi, Nana, and Yori enter in business attire. Nana was dressed simply in office attire, a white dress shirt with a green tie and white polka dots similar to what Night Eye wears, and Yori was dressed in a yellow tuxedo that All Might had previously worn. Toshi was wearing the exact same formal attire that Midoriya had when they traveled to Ai Island. "Hello class, today we will be teaching you today," Nana said formally as she removed and cleaned her glasses before putting them back on as the three children entered and stood in front of the class. Before they created a commotion, the majority of the students were Iida. Iida yelled, "What's the meaning of this?" Kaminari gave Kirishima a high five and said, "Okay, free day." "About time I've been so tried from all of this ultimate move training," said Mina. Bakugo shouted, "There's no way I'm taking orders from a Deku's brat." The class seemed to relax when Nana closed her eyes and raised her pointing finger in response to some mild curiosity about why the children were present rather than their teacher. Iida spoke after Midoriya, who first said, Kids, why are you here and where's Mr. Aizawa?" "Yeah, I too would like to know as well." "Simple really," said Nana. "We asked if we can be his tush for the time we are here and in exchange he gets catch up on his sleep." It was acknowledged that Momo reared her, saying, "Excuse me, but aren't you three a little young to be teaching us?" Toshi responded, "Technically we are older than you since we're from the future." Sato inquired, "How does that work?" Nana answered, "Don't think about it too much." Tokiyami remarked, "Another one of life's great mysteries." Nana went to the virtual board and said, "Anyone, you all will just have to accept the fact that we're going to be helping with the teaching." Shoji asked them, "So, what's going to be the lesson for today?" Nana turned to face them and remarked, "Just standard stuff, but before that you all must learn the pecking order." "What?" Kirishima asked, her expression bewildered. As she displayed a chart with different pictures, Nana explained to them, "Basically it just shows where you all stand. First is Mineta, the maggots, the dirt, Bakugo, the worms inside of the dirt." Bakugo shouted, "Hey, what the hell?" but was interrupted when a piece of chalk was thrown at his forehead. "Please do not question or interrupt the pecking order," Yori said, holding a white chalk box. As she turned to face the class, Nana said, "Thank you, Yori." Her sister grinned and continued, "Now continuing Bakugo, the worms inside the dirt, a marble Yori found in the couch cushion, saplings, the pro-heroes, and Nedu. Any questions for the other people who are between the marble and the sapling?" Mineta raised her hand and Nana said, "Yeah, I got one, but why am I at the bottom?" Quote, "Mineta, leave your desk and take a few steps forwards," Nana said, squinting her eyes. Nana's eyes were watching him closely as he left his desk, walked forward, and stopped, and Mineta swallowed. He asked her if this was good, and she nodded. He closed his eyes and waited, but nothing came of it, so he released the air he was holding. "Huh, I guess nothing, bah." Slam. He was pinned to the ground by a ceiling fan that had fallen on him once more. "Ugh," Mineta moaned as everyone turned to stare at him. Zero looked up and asked, "When did we get a ceiling fan in here?" "Take action." "No." Question. "The pecking." Yori stood beside him and threw chalk sticks at him, saying, "Order." Everyone shook their heads no, so Nana asked if they had any more questions. "All right, then we're going to have a little test," Nana said as Toshi started giving each student a test, which was met with moans. Kaminari whimpered, "Aw man, a test." As Toshi put a piece of paper on his desk and stepped behind him, Ojiro questioned, "Are you sure that's a good idea to give out a test without us having any knowledge about it beforehand?" As Toshi handed the final scenario to Momo, Nana reassured her, "Don't worry, this is an opinion kind of test where you each will be given your own different scenarios and you'll give your honest opinion about it. Some of these scenarios are some you may have been in and some are not, but you should still answer with your honest opinion," Nana stated to them. With her legs crossed and a ruler in her hand, Nana sat atop the teacher's desk and said, "You may begin now," as everyone started working. Melissa was browsing every section of the school library in search of study materials. She grimaced at the idea and shook her head, saying, "It's strange that this school doesn't have a librarian, but I suppose when you have Nedu as a principal you don't want to mess with school property." She kept scanning the area when she saw a big pile of books shifting before toppling over with a groan. When Melissa got to the spot where the books had fallen, she saw a shorty girl with long blonde hair, a set of long horns coming from her head, and what looked like hooves where her feet should have been sitting on the floor, massaging her head. Melissa assumed that someone had fallen over while tending to the large stack of books and went to see if they were okay. The American foreign girl, who loved manga and anime, was named Pony Tsunotori and she was in class 1B. Melissa asked, "Hey, are you okay?" as she extended her hand to help her up. "Dang it, I accidentally spoke English. Great, they're going to look at me weird," said Pony, letting her native tongue slip through. Pony has been trying to teach herself Japanese ever since she arrived in Japan, but she has been struggling with some of the words. While some of her classmates are sympathetic and try to help, they always treat her like a baby and baby her when they try to teach her a word. After noticing that Pony appeared somewhat embarrassed, Melissa thought, oh, she's from America too. She must be attempting to learn Japanese while she's here. After being taken aback by the girl's use of English, Pony asked, and Melissa nodded. Excited, Pony approached Melissa and asked her in an excited tone, pleading with her as she used her big eyes to persuade her. Melissa was a little hesitant about politely declining the girl she had just met in the library, but she was also aware of the heap of manga that was still on the floor, and she thought excitedly as she saw the titles of some of them. Demon Slayer, Konosuba, Shield Hero, and Dr. Stone. She asked, and Pony noticed where she was looking. Melissa nodded, telling her. Pony said. Melissa then came up with a brilliant idea. She reached out, and the pony grabbed it and shook. Melissa later realized that she had neglected to introduce. As Melissa started to assist her in picking up her books, she told her. Class 1A. The test was difficult for some of the students, and for others, the difficulties were so severe that they were smoking. As Momo struggled with her scenarios, she concluded, what can I do? There are too many variables. All right, so me and my teammates are trapped in a small area while the enemy has blocked our vision of the outside and exits, and I'm almost at my quirk limit. One of my teammates is incapacitated, another is injured, and the other is helping the incapacitated one. What do you do? I'm a teacher and just found out one of my students' family members was heavily injured. He comes to schools clearly affected by it but keeps it to themselves, Iida thought, clenching the paper, and when he looked up, he saw Nana nodding and staring at him. The scenario was all too familiar. Iida concluded, I see she's trying to see what I learned from when my brother was attacked, but he asked, how did she possibly know about that? Until he noticed Nana's intense gaze, at which point he stopped thinking and went on. After a huge catastrophe, you are part of the rescue operation, but you hear a pro-hero just quit during it, what's your response? Ochako read the scenarios in her mind and thought, that can't possibly happen right now, they're pro-heroes, they can't just quit especially after a catastrophe, right? To herself, Hiroshima read to himself, you're lying on the ground, barely conscious, after being nearly beaten to death by a villain. Your teammates decide to step in to protect you. What can you do? What would I do if I come across a terrifying villain that I tricked a long time ago during a battle? Mina asked herself. Obviously, I would fight back, right? Mina attempted to write, but something in the back of her mind kept bugging her. Looking at his paper, Todoroki read, you meet someone from your past that you pushed aside or ignored and you meet them again, how do you respond to them? Thinking back to Nana's statement that some of these might have happened to them, he wondered if this had ever happened to him. Midoriya reads the paper to himself. A scared child bumps into you on your patrol with another hero. The child has bandages on their arms and they call for help. But then someone comes along and claims to be the child's caretaker, who is also a dangerous villain, and your partner tells you not to engage because it could ruin an investigation. Nana, please don't tell me that this is a choice I would have to make because if you were my daughter you know what my answer would be. Midoriya glanced at his daughter reading a book before turning back to his own paper. Nana mentioned that some of these scenarios had happened to one of them, but this one felt like a scenario he would have to face. As he finished reading the Bakugo scenario, he felt as though his test was specifically directed at him. What the hell do these brats want from me? He asked himself. After 20 minutes, as everyone calmed down a little, Nana said, okay, pencils down everyone that concludes the test. Hiroshima asked his pink friend, man, what was up with that test? How do you think you did, Mina? But she gave him a dejected look, which is typically the opposite of her usual expression. Hiroshima said, hey Mina, are you okay? She replied, yeah, I'm fine, but he didn't believe her and chose not to pursue the conversation. Hiroshima told her, if you say so, but if something's bothering you, you can talk to me, right? We're horn buddies. Mina continued to look down and replied, yeah, you're right. All right, the tests have been collected, now time for the next part, said Nana. Next part, the class as a whole thought. Everyone, get your PE uniforms and head to the field. It's time for an intense workout, Toshi said as he made his way to the door, to the groans of the crowd. The athletic field, everyone was wearing the PE and standing in the track field, including Toshi, Nana, and Yori. Consistent. Hey, can we take a break? We just had a test and my mind's already hurting, Mineta complained. As Toshi approached the purple pervert and knelt down to him, He glanced at Nana and nodded. Sure you can, was Toshi's smiling reply. Mineta started to say, thank you, but Toshi interrupted him with a strong uppercut to the chin that sent him flying and then back down. Toshi got up and said, all right everyone, we will do runs for the first part and after that we'll be doing exercises. Sue questioned him, what would be so different from the ones we normally do? Toshi said, easy, as he walked up to Kaminari. As Kaminari felt Toshi tap his head, he begged, please don't hurt me. Don't worry, you're not as bad as Mineta. Hey, what did you do? Kaminari sighed, but it felt like a heavy object was pulling him down. As he tapped everyone else who felt much heavier, Toshi explained, I just amplify your gravity to make it feel like another you was standing on top of you. When Jiro saw Nana holding a hero journal in her hand, she said, wait, how do you know our exact weight? Before shutting it, don't worry about it, Nana assured them. Toshi gestured to the track, where everyone attempted to run but some were moving slowly. We are taking carrying your own weight around to the next level, you all will be running and do exercises with my heavy gravity in effect, so come on everyone start running, he said. As he ran alongside them, Toshi chanted, come on, let me hear you sing. You want to be an Air Force Ranger, you want to live a life of danger, Toshi sang. Inspired by this exercise, Kirishima exclaimed, yeah, let's go everyone. Toru whimpered, I want to go home. When Aoyama unintentionally stepped on his tail, which was also being affected by the amplified gravity and dragging on the ground, Ojiro yelled, hey, watch my tail. As he turned away to face the readers who were reading this exact sentence, Aoyama said, sorry, Mon Ami. Nana watched them and told him, try not to kill them, Toshi. When Nana felt her uniform being pulled, she looked down to see Yori tugging at her shirt. Yori said, may I go run with them? As Yori ran to catch up with the group ahead, Nana told her, go ahead but don't push just yet, you're still too young. Arena of National Dagoba, Class 1A soon arrived at their exam location on the day of the test. Everywhere there were several pupils from various schools. Jiro complained, dude, I'm starting to feel a little anxious. Mineta said anxiously, I wonder what they're going to make us do, what if I can't get my license? Aizawa leaned over and lectured, Mineta, don't ask if you can say that you will. With confidence, Mineta said, sure, I got this. As Nana arrived with Toshi, Aoi, and Yori, she informed them that, if you all pass this test and get your provisional licenses, then you all will be saplings except for Mineta who will move to Maggots Part 1 and Bakugo who will move to Worms Part 1. As everyone's faces were filled with fear, Toshi pointed out, and if not then you all will be doing more training with me. When the Midoriya children were in charge, Aizawa had heard about the training and test his class had taken, and he genuinely enjoyed the approach. Yori put her fist in the air and urged them, come on, you all can do it, I believe in you. Go plus. Ultra, was yelled by Inasa Yoeoroshi, a big boy with a buzz cut, who approached from behind her. Yori was so frightened by the boy that she fled to safety behind her father. She was still trembling when Midoriya asked, Yori, are you okay? Yori nodded, choosing to remain near her father. Shishikura Seiji, a boy with purple hair and slit eyes, said to the group, you know it's pretty rude to barge into other people's huddles like that as well as scaring them, Inasa. The group also included a girl with long fawn-colored hair and puffy lips, as well as another student whose entire body was covered in hair. As he bowed and slammed his head against the floor, Yoarish said, what pardon me, I am so, very, extremely sorry. Kaminari remarked, who is this guy? He seems like a really enthusiastic Iida. To which Iida replied, hey, I'm not that extreme. Jiro remarked, hey, look at their uniforms. They must be from the other famous school on the other side of Japan, Shiro thought. According to Bakugo, Ua in the east, Shiketsu in the west. Looking at the students, Midoriya thought, of all the hero courses there, the one at this school actually rivals UA's, Shiketsu High. However, he failed to notice the fawn-haired girl staring at him. She thought, there he is, my darling. Toshi turned to Bakugo and said, Shiketsu is more strict with their rules, unlike Ua who are more loose with their rules and teaching styles. Maybe you should have gone there. Hot head, Toshi chided, they might have fixed your horrible attuned. Bakugo shouted at Toshi, shut up, there's nothing wrong with my attitude, as Kirishima restrained him from assaulting the child. He said to him, calm down, dude. Are all UA students like this? Because if so, they really have gone downhill, said Shishikura. As the boy turned to face the girl, Aoi reassured him, no, it's just him. Don't worry, we're trying to correct him. With blood streaming from his head, Yoarashi declared, I just wanted to say it just once, plus ultra. You see, I really love UA High School. I am extremely honored to compete against such incredible students. I'm so looking forward to it. The fawn-haired girl, Kami Yutsushimi, said, whoa, blood, oblivious to the looks from Yori, Nana, and Aizawa. Yesterday, after class, Aizawa was grading papers when Nana and Yori arrived. When Aizawa saw them, she asked, what do you two want? We came to inform you on a certain matter that will transpire tomorrow at the exam. Nana stated to him. All right, sit down and tell me, Aizawa said, glancing at the two girls. Nana and Yori pulled up a chair to him and told him about the arrival of Yori's mother, also known as Toga Himiko, tomorrow. So why didn't you let us know about this earlier? Aizawa asked, rubbing his irritated temples, since Nedu had already told him who Yori's mother was. Cause you would have called extra heroes to show up at the exam area, making it feel like they already knew Himiko would show up, which could possibly ruin the actual capture. Nana fixed her glasses. As Nana took the tranquilizer dart gun from her bag and thumped it loudly onto Aizawa's desk, she said, okay, and I'm guessing you have a plan to get her. As he gazed at it, Aizawa thought, oh fuck. As she took out the crab trackers, Nana added, my plan is to let her continue on mission until the exam ends. And when she's in close proximity to father, I'll simply activate these tracking devices to be attached to her, and once the exams are over, we'll track down. Yori will converse with Himiko long enough for me to shoot her with these darts before she gets away. Nana concluded as he gazed at her. Aizawa turned to Yori as well, but he had to concede that it was a smart plan. He asked her, are you okay with this, Yori? Yori nodded and whispered, I am. I know it'll be scary, but I'm a brave girl, most of the time. With a sigh, Aizawa turned to Nana and asked, are you certain this will work? 98% sure, was her response. Nana nodded as Aizawa stated, okay, but if something goes wrong, you are being held accountable. As Yori held Nana's hand as she picked up her belongings and left, Aizawa said, good, now go. Return to the present. Aizawa merely gazed at the young woman. That's Himiko, so Nana needs to be more aware of her actions. Hagakure said, hey Mr. Aizawa, do you know that guy? He seems like he's really into UA. Oh him, that's Inasa Yoarashi. He's strong, Aizawa informed the pupils. He's the same year as you all, and received the top scores for students submitted through recommendations, but for some unknown reason he turned down his acceptance to UA and went to Shiketsu instead. Shocked, Midoriya said, wait, he's our age. If he received the highest rating in the recommendations, then he must be even better than Todoroki, Midoriya thought as he watched the latter leave. As Nana stood beside him and noticed his eyes on Inasa, Todoroki watched him go, thinking, he was also in the freshman recommendations and got the top scores, but I don't remember him. As Todoroki gazed at her, Nana remarked, those who are intent on rejecting are caught trying to prove something tend to forget about everyone else. Todoroki inquired, what do you mean? Just because you have changed from your old self doesn't mean everyone else knows, but it's never too late to ask for forgiveness, Nana advised him. Remember your Shoto, Todoroki, he nodded to her. With students of Shiketsu, as she entered the building, Kami, who was actually wearing a toga disguise, turned to face the UA students. Who were those little kids with them and why did they look like Maizu darling? She asked herself. And why did that little blonde girl with the features look like me with cat ears? She added. I need to concentrate on my assignment, so I have questions for later, she concluded. Returning to the students at UA. That guy loves our school, but he turned his chance to enroll when it was offered. Zero was speechless. Mina concurred. Yeah, what a weirdo. Before he sensed an unwelcome presence, Aizawa cautioned, he's the real deal, keep an eye on him. Aizawa stiffened and turned to face the woman who called out, Eraser, I know that scowl and that long unkempt hair anywhere. To Aizawa's annoyance, the woman known as Ms. Joke said as she approached, I saw you on TV and at the sports festival, but it's been a while since we were this close in person. In Midoriya's words, she looks familiar. Ms. Joke proposed, let's get married, to which Aizawa said, no, and burst out laughing. Ms. Joke chuckled and said, you're a real laugh riot buddy. Aizawa said, as possible, you're impossible, Joke. Oh, I remember now, That's the smile hero Ms. Joke. Her quirk is outburst. She forces people around her to laugh, which affects their ability to think and keeps them from being able to move. Her fights with villains are always filled with insanity, Midoriya said excitedly with Toshi. As he took out his notebook, Toshi remarked, she's so funny even if you're not affected by her quirk. Her stand-up shows are always fun to watch. I have to get an autograph. Everyone thought, like father, like son. Come on, think about it, if I was your wife, you'd have a future full of constant laughter, said Ms. Joke. As Ms. Joke began to laugh once more, Aizawa remarked, that sounds like an actual nightmare. But a world without laughter is a terrible place to live in, said Yori. Ms. Joke petted the young girl's head and remarked, see this cute kitten gets it. You two seem to be close, Sue remarked. Our agencies were near each other, as young heroes striving to make a difference in the world, a mutual love bloomed, said Ms. Joke. Aizawa countered, no it didn't. Ms. Joke teased, you're my favorite person to tease future husbands. As she nudges Mina, points to the two teachers, and nods, Aoi reflects, Aizawa says that now but in the future he'll be surprised if we tell him he has a daughter with Emi. With excitement, Mina thought, I see a new ship has blossomed. So, that must mean something if you're here, Aizawa inquired. Ms. Joke called out to her students, that's right, over here everyone, this is Class 1A. Yoshindo, a tall, black-eyed child, exclaimed, wow, it really is Class 1A. His classmates then followed suit. Nagakame Tatami, a blonde girl with sharp teeth, remarked, that's so amazing. These are my second-year students from Class 2 at Ketsubutsu Academy, Ms. Joke said. 2 years, some of us didn't get our licenses last time, so you know, second time's the charm, Nagakame said in response to Momo's question. Hey, I'm Shindo, Shindo said, taking Midoriya's hand. It looks like Ua has had a lot of trouble this year, must have been tough on ya. Shindo nodded. According to Midoriya, yeah. But it's amazing that you all still want to be heroes in spite of those difficulties, your hearts are full of strength. That's what I think every hero should have, Shindo asserted. He's too kind, Midoriya reflected. Hiss, Yori suddenly appeared between the two, her quirk active for a moment. As Midoriya picked her up, she put one arm around her waist in a carrying position and told him, stay away from Daddy Faker. As he tried to apologize, Midoriya saw Shindo speaking to Bakugo. Yori, said her name sternly, don't call people fakers, it's not polite. I'm so sorry about that, Midoriya said. With a sigh, Midoriya set Yori down and said, Yori, tell me why you were rude to him. He had his arms crossed and wasn't angry with her, but he was interested in learning why she had treated him so badly. As she pointed Midoriya to where Bakugo had slapped Shindo's hand away, Yori informed him, he was trying to trick you. He was being nice to you so your guard would be lowered, she said. He questioned her, how would you know that? Mama taught me how to tell if some was wearing a mask to hide their true self or their hidden intentions, Yori continued. As Yori nodded, Midoriya said, Himiko wears a mask. I wonder why, he thought. Hey, get going everyone, problem child's children with me, head to orientation, instructed Aizawa. As they left, the students complied, saying, yes, sir. I keep forgetting we're famous at the other schools, Juro said. Oh yeah, we're basically celebrities when it comes to hero course, said Kaminari. He had already left with 4 small children to the building when Ms. Joke asked him, wait, hold the phone, did you warn your kids, Eraser? Within the stadium, Midoriya remarked, look at this crowd, as they were encircled by candidates dressed as heroes. There are a lot of them, Uraraka said. On top of the stage, a man in a suit said, I'm in front of the Hero Public Safety Commission, and my name is Mara. Mara yawned, overwhelmed by his workload. All right, then, let's do this exam thing. Listen, I'm tired so I'm going to make this quick and easy. All right, he stated. So about the content of this license thing is basically 1540 examinees compete in a free for exercise or whatever we're calling it this year, Mara clarified. Zero stated, really, that's not a lot of information. See, we got a lot of pros around, and since Stain was arrested, many people have expressed doubts about the status of heroes in society, said Mara. He must be talking about Stain's convictions, the idea that most pros aren't worthy of the hero title, now the only thing they're after are fame and fortune. The hero killer is still affecting our world, Midoriya pondered. But, when you really think about it, getting paid makes sense. If you're going to risk your life to save someone, why shouldn't you ask for a reward, huh, replied Mera. That's just the way the world works anyway, whether they're doing it for commission or out of a sense of duty. We got too many heroes teaming up in the streets to keep villains at bay, explained Mera. The time between the start of the incident and its resolution is absurdly short, Mera said, adding that the screen above stated that the first 100 students to complete the requirements would pass today. You are all here to receive your provisional hero licenses, so you'll be swept in this tiresome mess pretty soon. Those of you who don't have the speed frankly just won't cut it. That's what you'll be tested on, Mera said. Momo was taken aback to learn that more than 1,500 people were taking the test. Sue concluded, that means less than 1% will get their license. Jiro grumbled, oh man, I'm getting way more nervous. Holding a ball and a target of some sort, Mera remarked, well, the world is pretty unfair like that. I suppose I should say something about good luck or something, so anyway here are the basic rules. You all be given 6 balls each along with 3 of these targets that'll be put on only exposed areas on your body, so once the ball hits the target it'll light up, and when all 3 targets light up you're out and the person who lights up the 3rd target gets the credit, and you need to take out at least 2 people to pass the first part. It's similar to entrance exam, but going against people will be a lot harder than robots. We're giving exactly enough balls for us to pass, although, I guess you always try and steal the 3rd target from someone, after they hit the first 2. So it's even harder than the entrance test, Midoriya reflected. As the stadium ceiling started to open, Mera concluded, well, I guess that's it, we'll be passing out the targets and balls and you'll have a few minutes to get ready after we opened up. When the room unfolded, everyone was startled to see that they were in the middle of the exam site, with various terrains surrounding them. While everyone was still in shock, Mera remarked, I'm sure each of you has a different terrain you want to avoid. Use your quirks well and your best, or not. As he left them, he said, may the odds be on your side now. They won't. Seats in stadiums. From the seats, Aizawa, Ms. Joke, and the children of Midoriya watched. Nana and Aoi were seated in the seats on either side of Aizawa, while Toshi and Yori were seated between Ms. Joke and Aizawa. So Eraser, you're babysitting these kids cause why? Ms. Joke asked, having just finished signing her name in Toshi's notebook. Mr. Aizawa informed her, because they wanted to come watch their father. To avoid more bothersome inquiries, Aizawa had previously described the identities of these children and their origins. As Aizawa complained, Ms. Joke teased, didn't you were such a dad? Aoi asked her sister in a whisper, should we tell them? Nana replied, no, they'll take care of this in their own time, while looking out over the middle of the field. I can't believe you still have 20 students, it's unusual for you not to expel someone. You must actually like yourself class this time, replied Ms. Joke. Not really, Aizawa said. Oh, don't be like that, Mr. Aizawa. You know you like us, Yori said. No, I don't, Aizawa shot back. Nana answered, oh, please, that's why you train them so hard. Aizawa pondered, why must I be surrounded by nuisances? But really, you didn't tell them what will happen, especially since you already know, Ms. Joke said, laughing before she calmed down. Man, even these kids know you that well. Aoi declared, so this must be it, as she looked far ahead using her zoom trick. With Yori holding binoculars and Nana holding opera glasses, Toshi pulled out a pirate telescope and said, yep, this is what Big Sis told us about when she took her exam. Yes, Nana replied. Exam grounds. One school after another was racing in different directions. Teaming up with people you already know is the best way to win because the first people to finish win. So no one will target their own classmates, Midoriya reasoned. Midoriya gave the order, everyone stick together, we'll fight them together. Uraraka said, right behind you, Deku, and Iida answered, got it. Bakugo shouted as he fled, yeah right, like hell I'm sticking with you extra. Hiroshima followed him with Kaminari and said, hey, don't go off on your own. They were called to, Kachan, Hiroshima, Kaminari, by both Midoriya and Iida. As he walked away, Todoroki said, I'm going off on my own as well, it's too dangerous to use my power when a big group is around. Momo yelled, Todoroki, be careful. Every year the test is different, but one thing is always the same, it's kind of like a tradition during the licensing exam, said Ms. Joke. I don't thinking it's a good idea for them to go off on their own though, Deku replied. Why? Inquired Mineta. When they realized, Midoriya said, consider it, everyone already knows what powers we have. They investigated us. Prior to Iida realizing, the sports festival, Uraraka asked. Most of the students in the license exam have equal footing except for UA because y'all top school sports festival is broadcast to the world, showing off their quirks, weaknesses, and fighting styles, Ms. Joke said as they kept watching. The speaker declared, the test will begin now. The other schools have probably figured out the same way to win that I have. This is gonna to end up like a battle between schools. With that in mind, first they come for the ones whose quirks they know, Midoriya told them. Mina asked him, does that mean? And Jiro said, don't tell me. Sato remarked, aw crap basket. If you like this bunch a lot this year you should have warned your students about all of this, as we've seen time and time again in this exam, the crushing of UA, stated her pupils as they grew tired of UA. Deku uttered the words, I knew it, as another school encircled them. As he and his classmates threw their balls at UA, Shindo said, I saw you on TV, the power that works like a double-edged sword, can't let this nail stick. Upon leaping to his feet, Midoriya thought, one for all 10%, full cowling shoot style, and kicked the balls away with a forceful shockwave. Not to be rude, Ms. Joke, but it doesn't matter if they knew or not, one of the key parts to being a hero is to overcome any obstacles, Nana said as she explained that Tokiyami used Dark Shadow to grab the balls and throw them. Aizawa was about to explain when Nana interrupted. As he observed Mina forming an acid shield and Zero and Mineta using their moves to catch the balls through his telescope, Toshi remarked, they aren't any regular UA students. They all have been through crisis after crisis and came out stronger. As she zoomed in on her father's class, Aoi remarked, Dad always says that real heroes can turn around any situation, besides when they become pros they'll face villains who already know about their powers. This might work. I have my own shooting style, and everyone else's abilities have improved as well. Our rigorous training has paid off, Midoriya reasoned. Deku gave the order, we got this guys, show them what UA can do, and everyone grinned confidently. All of them said, yeah. Plus Ultra right, inquired Yori. I guess Midoriya did raise y'all right, Aizawa thought as he turned to face Yori, grinning beneath his scarves. Aizawa rubbed her cat ears and remarked, plus Ultra indeed. Ms. Joke grinned as she gave him a look. As Ms. Joke fantasized about having a child with the unkempt man, she thought, oh, I'm definitely going to have him put a baby in me. Stands at stadiums. Hey Eraser, I bet a lot of our kids will think it's important to finish fast, like the first ones to pass will be ranked top, so they'll want to attack immediately, Ms. Joke speculated. So how often do the ones that do make first attack actually move on to the next part? Toshi inquired. Unlikely they immediately get taken out, especially the ones that go off on their own thinking that they don't need help, said Ms. Joke to him. Which is why teamwork is the key to passing the first part. The wise ones will cooperate and gather intel together, but if they're impatient and rush to get points they'll end up exposing themselves, which means game over, was the last thing Nana said to Aizawa as she noticed Bakugo sprinting forward, followed by Kirishima and Kaminari. Exactly, Aizawa remarked while observing his class. You kids are lucky getting front row seats to experience these exams. You four must be going for the hero course, said Ms. Joke. Yes, we are, with the exception of Aoi. Toshi gestured to her sister with the pink hair, saying, she's attending a support course. Looking through her binoculars, Yori said, hey look, they're not attacking anymore, as she gestured toward the two schools. None of our attacks are landing, observed Shikui Makabe, a blue student. As Shikui stiffened his throwing balls, Shindo asserted, I guess it's obvious UA won't go down without a fight. Maybe not, but we have a plan, he said, tossing them to Idahiro Toteki, one of his classmates with long black hair. As he threw the balls that were moving underground, Idahiro called out, boomerang, crescent moon trajector. I'll take it from here, just try not to be jealous when I pass first before the rest of you, but I'll make sure to leave behind enough for you guys to pass, target lock on. My aim is always true, and since these projectiles are coming at them from underground, they can't possibly be able to dodge in time, Itajiro said. Second-year Ketsubutsu students stiffening is Shikui Makabe's quirk. It makes anything he touches extremely hard, but it doesn't work on living things. Boomerang is Idahiro Toteki's quirk that allows him to throw objects at any trajectory with incredibly accurate aim, even underground. As she connected her earlobes to her wrist amplifiers, Jiro reassured them, come back, I'll take care of this. Sound amplification, amplifier jack, heartbeat fuzz, she declared as she pounded her amplifiers into the earth, sending a powerful shockwave that caused an earthquake and caused the ground to crack. As the stiffened balls blasted out of the ground, Aidahiro remarked, she's breaking the ground apart, it won't help. Mineta screamed, help, they're heading right for me, as the stiffened balls approached him. Mina uttered the words, acid veil, as she sprayed a wall of acid from her hands, melting the balls away. Mineta said, thanks for the save. Mina clarified, it's my special move, that creates a melting wall. Tokiyami declared, black abyss, as Dark Shadow hid behind him. As Dark Shadow aimed his claw at the tatami girl, Midoriya thought, it's cooler and easier to say. She sucks herself into her torso like a turtle in a panic. Tatami stuck her head out and said, whoa, that was a close one. Year 2 of Ketsubutsu Academy. Like a turtle, Tatami Nagakame, who is telescopic, can draw her body inward. Shindo expressed admiration, saying, interesting, looks like this class isn't the same from the sports festival. Looks like you all have appeared to be at a standstill, but I must remind you that this is a first to pass, so hurry up, move on to the second part. I'm tired, Mera announced. The real battle will start at any moment, Midoriya thought, but everyone is holding back right now, watching their opponents' blind spots and how they'll use their quirks. What's our strategy? Everyone will be focused on protecting their own targets. It's going to be impossible to hit them by chance. We'll have to aim well and hit for their defenses, even if we don't know their quirks, Midoriya thought, glancing at Shindo. Do y'all children know how many want kids, like yo, want to be heroes? You should. That strength of will is far more important than going to a famous school and having renown. When you think you're the stars and look down in others, you reveal your weaknesses. That's how you fail. Stuff like this, Ms. Joke told the Midoriya children. We know, that's why if we can't get into UA we also look to other schools we can go to be heroes, Toshi stated. Plus we don't let our powers get to our heads like some people. Our father told us that everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, Nana continued, so instead of looking down on them, we help them overcome their weaknesses, she concluded. Ms. Joke inquired, smart kids, who did you say your father was again? Yori applauded when Aoi remarked, Izuku Midoriya, he's Deku, the greatest hero of all time. Returning to the tests, Shindo put his hands on the ground and yelled, out of the way. Maximum force. Tremoring earth, Shindo said, their defenses are too strong, we need to break them up. When the earth started to crumble beneath his students' feet and send them hurtling away, Midoriya thought, an earthquake attack. Everyone run, Iida commanded. Mina shouted, what the hell is this? This is crazy, Mineta cried out. Izuku, Uraraka shouted, concerned for her husband. As he was taken away from the group, Midoriya shouted to them, everyone makes sure you regroup and stay together. You didn't think you guys were the only ones with ultimate moves, did ya? Replied Shindo. Year 2 of Ketsubutsu Academy. Yo, Shindo's quirk Vibrate allows him to make anything he touches tremble, but the aftershocks temporarily immobilize him. Todoroki was worried about leaving Midoriya and the others behind when he felt the vibration of someone's quirk in a nearby fake city. Tremors, an earthquake, no, probably someone's quirk, Todoroki thought, concluding, it came from where I left Midoriya and the others behind. Other examiners in a different area of the fictitious city were shocked by the attack. One student exclaimed, man, what kind of power was that? Clearly a ground type, remarked a different student mockingly. As the wind started to pick up speed, a student moaned, shut up Reggie and focus, the enemies are everywhere. Come on, don't y'all want to be heroes? I thought at least one or two of you would have passed by now, Mera said, yawning as he glanced at the screen. Balls started to fly out of the hands of a group of students as the wind started to blow around them. One applicant remarked, my balls are gone, while another chuckled at the phrase, shut up, Reggie. Inasa's lecture, I think it's very important for a hero to have passion and you all are fighting, thank you, took place in the middle of the whirlwind flying. As Inasa threw the balls back at the applicants, each hitting the targets, the other applicants questioned, it's that one guy from Shiketsu High, what did he say? It's hard to hear. What's he going to now? He got our balls. Man, this blows, Reggie, I swear to God. Mera was awakened by, what the what, 120 people taken down, a single person in just one attack, and he cried out in shock. Seats in stadiums. As she watched Inasa remove a number of students through the Toshi pirate telescope, Ms. Joke remarked, man, that Inasa kid really good, ashamed he didn't stay at UA. Yes, it's a great shame, Aizawa concurred. As he attempted to grab his telescope from Ms. Joke, Toshi whimpered, hey, I want to see. After taking a tablet out of her backpack and turning it on, Nana said, looks like it's time. Aoi, you got your eyes on father? She asked her sister. As she zoomed in on him, Aoi informed her. Yep, got him in my sights. All right, now I can turn on the crab trackers and we get a lock on Yori's mother, Nana said, and Yori heard her. Through her binoculars, Yori saw her father standing alone with a blonde girl in a back jumpsuit approaching him from behind. Mommy, she pondered. Following the earthquake in Shindo, Midoriya was spotted by himself and was not able to hear the sounds of a crab tracker turning on in his hair. Before he realized he was alone, Midoriya thought, what a good quirk, although it would be hard to use in a city. Midoriya worried about his friends and thought, oh no, we've been separated. Was this Ketsubutsu Academy's plan from the start? As he recalled Aizawa describing who Inasa was, Midoriya thought, I have to find the other, or at least somebody soon, because if I'm alone, I may sitting duck out her and the other schools are ahead and have more time to work together and learn how to make decisions in battle. We're behind by whole years of training, even with everyone we have experience. He then recalled Shindo's deceit. I don't know why, but I'm getting excited. These are strong students from all over the country. Midoriya stopped thinking as a girl deftly hit one of his targets and evaded him. This girl appeared out of the blue, Midoriya remembered. Kami, the girl who tagged him, said, tag you're it, not smart, staring off into space, but what's really weird is that you're still smiling. You couldn't be more cooler darling, she said. Before blushing, Midoriya thought, it's the girl from Shiketsu High. Did she just call me darling? Quote. Ochako, meanwhile, was recuperating from the earthquake in another location. As she looked around, she thought, man, that was really intense. Someone could have died in that attack. If I call out to the others, I'll just become a target for the rest of the schools. My classmates shouldn't be too far away, so I need to find them, otherwise I'll have to fight by myself. In moments like this, you need to be calm and careful. Uraraka planned and fled. I don't know why, but I feel like someone's trying to seduce my Deku, she thought as a chill went up her spine. Alongside Midoriya, as Midoriya lay pinned to the ground with Kami on top of him, he thought, wow, this is a dilemma. Kami uttered the words, got you darling, without realizing that 3 crab trackers were scuttling into her hair and attaching themselves to it. Before having her binoculars taken away, Yori was observing the two and asked, hey, what's daddy doing with that girl? When she noticed Toshi floating them above her head, she exclaimed, hey, who did that? As Yori pouted at him and attempted to grab them, Toshi remarked, nope, you're too young for that. Aizawa nodded and said, good, once the exam is over, we'll hunt her down. Nana then pulled out the dart gun and cocked it. We got a lock on her, she said. Aizawa thought, Christ on a bike, what's up with this girl? Before Midoriya could answer, Kami said, hey, may I ask you something? Why do you want to be a hero? What are your deepest secrets, and why does that little cat girl look like a tiny version of you and me? She inquired. When Midoriya realized another school was coming for them, he knocked her off before he could finish thinking, cat girl, she must mean Yori, but wait, Yori doesn't look like this girl, she looks more like. Oh my, remarked a Ketsubutsu student, it looks like love on the battlefield. As his classmates arrived, Idahiro yelled, hey Shiketsu, get your own prey. Kami appeared irritated, and Midoriya appeared concerned. As he was surrounded, Midoriya thought, no good, I'm trapped, I couldn't find anyone and now I'm the target, the worst case scenario I thought up earlier is now a reality. With a variety of oddities, the students started attacking Midoriya. Dodge, got to keep dodging, Midoriya remarked as he dodged the blows and incoming balls. Where else, in a different reality or universe? Whatever. A child with spiky black hair was training behind a giant green slug man who was meditating. He decided to turn around and give the child a stern look. The child asked, what? Before the green man returned to his meditation. Returning to the world of BNHA. From a rock, Uraraka called out, hey over here. Ochako asked, curious about her origins. With her hand outstretched, Uraraka yelled, come on over here. Midoriya thought, why is she revealing her plan so publicly? It's not like her. Uraraka fell after an applicant shouted, come on over here, as they were aiming straight at her. Back then, I chose to fight and save someone which destroyed my arms. If I could have used my legs back then I might have been able to bring Kota to Mr. Aizawa and been faster to rescue Kachan, Deku thought as he hurried over to her. He caught Uraraka in bridal style while in the air. As he ran off with Uraraka, Midoriya thought, because you have to save yourself in order to save others, which is why I train my legs so I never fail to save anyone again. He broke the ground up with his iron sole shoes, causing the other applicants to lose their balance and fall. Since some of the applicants were searching for Midoriya and Uraraka, Mera declared, "Man, you guys are slow. Only 30 people have passed. Come on, I want to go home." "Man, where they go? Let's check over here." They left and failed to see the couple concealed behind some rocks. Midoriya peered over the edge of the rock and said, "They must have given up because no one is pursuing us." The words, "Thanks, sorry, I really messed up back there," were spoken by Uraraka. "Yeah, you did, but you have a pretty good disguise there," Midoriya said, turning to face Uraraka. "Yeah, I wait what?" Uraraka started to say, but Midoriya interrupted. "You're not Ochako because the real Ochako wouldn't just put herself in danger like that. She has been training herself to float for a short period of time and use it to make herself float without getting sick, but you chose to put yourself in danger without a plan, so who are?" Midoriya said as he assumed a defensive posture. Inquiring, "Someone from Shiketsu." The fake Uraraka melted into Kami, who said, "Ochako," as her skin started to melt off. "So you two are already on first-name basis," Kami said, now nude. "So you knew I was fake but you still saved me. What's your angle? You could have got seriously hurt from that fall and definitely would have injured yourself," Midoriya replied. "So you're just that good of a guy. Would you save anyone? What are the boundaries?" asked Kami. Midoriya blushed and tried not to look at her. "Can't we talk once the exam is over?" she asked. As she lunged at him and scratched his cheek, Kami said, "Sorry darling, but I have a job to complete." As he attempted to prevent another scratching attack, Midoriya wondered, "What's up with this girl and why does she keep calling me darling?" Fortunately, 3 unexpected strips of tape appeared and became the 2. Midoriya saw that Zero, who was perched atop a rock, was the source of the tapes. "Zero!" he exclaimed, startled. Uraraka leapt out from behind and attempted to grab Kami, but she bounded away, saying, "Dang, she's fast." Zero yelled, "Midoriya, are you really trying to get more girls for your harem?" As the 3 of them watched her flip up to a mountain, Kami thought, "Harem. So you and Ochako are in a harem together, how sweet." Kami said, "You know he really trusts you, Ochako Uraraka," before she vanished. Midoriya informed them of the circumstances that befell him and verified that they were Ochako and Zero. "Midoriya, what's your problem? You already have 4 girls in your harem along with kids already. Are you trying to add more girls?" Zero continued to shake Midoriya. Midoriya attempted to reassure him, saying, "You're really more worried about that than the exam we are." "Deku's right, we need to focus," Ochako replied. "We're in the middle of an exam and more people have been passing by the minute." As they heard people approaching, Midoriya said, "She's right, we need to figure something out so we can move." Zero and Midoriya noticed more students approaching as they peered over the rocks. Zero heard muttering and said, "Crap, what are we going to do?" Midoriya, "Not now." Zero turned to face Midoriya and saw that the muttering wasn't coming from him and was approaching from behind. When they turned around, they saw that Uraraka was the source. From what they could hear, Uraraka was muttering frantically while devising a strategy. The words, "I got follow me," were spoken by Uraraka as she left. As he followed her, Zero remarked to Midoriya, "It seems like she's spending too much time with you." When he shook his head and followed her, Midoriya thought, "So cute," but he also thought about that Kami girl. She said that Yori looked like her, but she doesn't in the least bit, unless that wasn't the real girl but a faker, Midoriya thought. "I have to let Uraraka and Aizawa now when we're done," Midoriya added, because Yori mentioned that Himiko had a talent for changing into different people, so that was actually Himiko Toga in disguise. Stands at stadiums. Nana put down the tablet and picked up her opera glasses, saying, "Well, that's been taken care of." She saw Momo, Jiro, Sue, and Shoji enter a building while a group of girls followed them. Yori asked her older brother, "Can I have my binoculars back now?" And Toshi turned to face Nana, who nodded. With a, "Here you go squirt," gesture, Toshi lowered them back to his younger sister. "Yai!" Yori exclaimed as she peered through them and saw Todoroki with a gang of ninjas in the factory area. Additionally, Aoi moved to where Ms. Joke was sitting and showed her a photo of an older Aizawa and herself with a tall adolescent girl who looked like Emi and had long green hair with a black streak down the left side of it. She looked as exhausted as Aizawa, and Ms. Joke grinned at the photo. Ms. Joke whispered to Aoi, "What's her name?" When the two saw Mr. Aizawa staring at them, Aoi whispered back, "It's Shizu Aizawa." He said to them, "What are you two doing?" Ms. Joke teased, Nothing eraser, hey how about a date after this? He said. Nope, and turned around. Aoi assured her, don't worry, he'll come around, while Ms. Joke was beaming. On this chapter, Nana said while recounting the story from the audience. It's Todoroki versus a bunch of Naruto weebs. Bakugo and Ko get a face full of meat. And Momo is challenged by a girl who thinks you need a high IQ to understand Rick and Morty, Nana concluded, so stay tuned to find out what happens to them. Aizawa turned to face the girl and asked, are you literally narrating the exam right now? Toshi was grumbling. She's doing it again, she always does this and it's super annoying and it's even more annoying cause she can predict our actions. Nana smirked as Toshi gave her a fierce look. Toshi moaned at his sister's antics because he's upset he isn't the main character but just a side character instead. Toshi countered, I'm not a side character. Nana informed him, in my opinion, you are. Ms. Joke chuckled and described a situation involving her and Eraserhead. Hey, that looks fun, let me try. The young, beautiful woman was trouble as the man who yearned for her couldn't build up the courage to ask her to marry him. I'm surrounded by nuisances, Toshi and Aizawa thought, both of them muttering. Factory space. Todoroki was being overrun by a group of Seijin High School ninjas in a mock factory area. They were countering his fire and ice with support items and quirks. The red ninja who threw tungsten made nuts and nails at Todoroki laughed and made fun of the dual-haired boy, saying, you were a fool to be on your own, Todoroki. Even if you're a top UA student, your pride and arrogance will be your down as we triumph over and I'll have my revenge for what you did to my clan. According to Todoroki, revenge. What clan? A green ninja moaned at his classmates' cheesiness, saying, great, he's been watching anime now he's got into his ninja persona again. You idiots, Todoroki uttered while launching a flame overhead. The red ninja told them to do it, my fellow ninjas, while the black and blue ninjas used water and mud to put out the fire. As a yellow ninja tore a piece of the factory and threw it at Todoroki, who kept defending, the red ninja continued to order, keep attacking him. As he continued to direct flames at them, Todoroki realized, they figured out a way to counter everything I have, from water and mud for my flames, to physical attacks for my ice. As the blue ninja applied their mud quirk to the Todoroki flames, they shouted, it's unless to resist. The red ninja shouted, show him no mercy like he did to my village. Then all of a sudden there was a huge stream that blinded everyone's vision. The red laughed as he leapt away to go find Todoroki, saying, you can run and hide him, but you'll never escape from the ninja clan. The black ninja remarked, man, he's really getting into this Who ninja persona. The green ninja informed them, yeah, remember to punch him later today. Although he was one of those people who goes far too far into character, the green ninja didn't despise his friend. Shoto thought, it's no wonder they told us to choose a terrain that would suit our style, as he flamed his hand. The Heroes Public Safety Commission must have constructed this factory to be realistic as possible, Shoto thought as Todoroki was escaping from the ninjas. The red ninjas saw Shoto's flame and pursued him, giving the order, there he is, surround him. As he pierced the tank with his ice, Shoto assumed, in that case, I'm guessing this tank is full of the real thing. As his colleagues rolled their eyes and approached the fire, only to discover it was merely a burning poster, the red ninja yelled, finally I can get my revenge for my village and become the next hero Hokage. The red ninja realized in disbelief as Todoroki attacked them from behind, he's got us. When Shoto aimed his flames at the tank's hole, it exploded, releasing a pink gas in the process. The explosions caused the ninjas to fly through the air while screaming. When he and his classmates were stuck in ice, shivering, the red ninja yelled, you must have done this to our village, curse you, for pulling such a crazy move. After tagging two of the ninjas out and abandoning them, Todoroki said, I'm sorry, but I just cannot afford to fail. The red ninja shouted, take note, Todoroki. I will exact my retribution, and after I do, I will become the next hero Hokage. The green ninja shouted at him, dude, stop talking about weeaboos. And that's coming from someone dressed like a ninja too. The speaker said, students who pass the exam should rest up in the lobby or welcome somewhere else. Within a building in the city, Momo and her group of Jiro, Su, and Shoji were confined to a room by CI Academy, an all-girls school. Momo recalled that Nana had given them the exact same scenario, and she thought to herself, okay, once this is all over, I'm going to have a serious talk with Nana. It was exactly the same situation she had. Su was going into hibernation because the rival girls' school was making it too cold for them, one of Jiro's earlobes was hurt, and Shoji was attempting to keep Sue warm by encircling her in his arms in a blanket. A group of girls waited patiently outside the room. The monocle-wearing girl with long white hair had her eyes closed and was drinking a cup of tea. A girl called out to her, "Miss Sai." She would go ahead and take them out, she said. Miss Sai, also known as Psycho Intelli, said, "In due time, we shall. The formula for my success is perfect and my intelligence is supreme with no one to rival." Second year at CI Academy. Quirk. Psycho Intelli's IQ increases after drinking tea and closing her eyes. It was already 150 before, so after a few sips, she can become a true genius. Her quirk is affected differently by the various tea brands. Nana narrowed her eyes in the stands as she peered through her opera glasses at the structure Momo's group was in. She pondered, "I would love to teach a certain girl the pecking order, but I wonder if Nedu would allow me to invite a student from another school over." Along with every other applicant who had already passed, Todoroki made it to the waiting area. They were fairly numerous. "Seriously, I'm a huge fan of Stamp Man as well. I love heroes who are super passionate," Inasa said to another applicant he saw talking to. "I would have seen him at the entrance exam if he had applied for recommendations, unless," Todoroki recalled what Nana had said to him prior to the test. When Todoroki noticed Inasa glaring at him, he snapped out of his reverie. Nana had told him, "Those whose goals are blinded by rejection or hate will forget about everyone else and push them aside." Todoroki stared at the tall boy, wondering if he had pushed him away. Returning to Momo. "Come on, Momo, you need to come up with a solution. Jiro can't use his sound attacks at full power because of one injured ear, so what if we break the wall to get out?" "No, that's a simple move, and our enemies will have expected something so obvious. For the time being, we need to deal with the air conditioning. I could make some clay to seal off the vents. There seem to be 8 of them in the room, but that would require a lot of my quirk, but at the moment, that's all I can do." An orange girl told her, "Miss Sai, phrase 3 has been completed." Intelli said, "Lovely, now we just give them time," and the other girls in the group followed her instructions. The biggest problem facing these UA students is frigid air being pumped into the room. In order to fix that, the one named Yaoyorozu must use her power. Her quirk uses the lipids inside her body to create solid matter. In other words, there's a limit of how much she create. We'll make her exhausted her abilities, then all 4 of their quirks will be rendered quite useless. This is my strategic designs, my equation for success, Intelli thought. As her classmates marveled at her, Intelli laughed and smirked as she said, "Now use your quirk for me, Yaoyorozu. It will be the beginning of the end for you and your friends." When Jiro saw that Momo had stopped making something, he said, "Hey, what, aren't you making anything? Is something wrong?" inquired Shoji. "No matter how different way I look at the situation, I get the same result. The enemies want me to use my quirk," Momo said. Shoji came to the realization, "Until you can't create anything else." "Right, my quirk has many applications, which is why they are putting me into a scenario where I would have to use my quirk a lot. At first I thought they were trying to manipulate the air conditioning because of Sue, but I believe they're trying to exhaust me," Momo clarified. "Very clever, and once you're powerless they'll march, in no doubt they can easily hit our targets," Shuige figured out. "Yes, so I can't use it, we'd just be playing right into their hands. We wait for the need to arise, when there's not another option," Momo told them. "But if we stay hiding here, there's a possible way we'll pass the licensing exam. We should just charge out that door and attack them head on," Jiro said. Sho argued, "I'm sure such a smart enemy will predict we'd do that." Jiro complained, "Okay, so what do we do?" Momo thought, "Predict," recalling a private discussion she had with Nana. 3 days prior, Momo asked the girl sitting on the couch in the common room, watching Mina and Ochako chase Yori while she was riding a large Roomba, "Nana, I would like to talk to about that test you gave us." Nana said, "Go ahead." Nana asked, "So, was there something wrong with the test?" As Momo took a seat beside her. "Yes, the scenario was too problematic for me. There were too many variables, and every situation I came up with it to defend ourselves would always lead to us getting defeated. So what I'm asking is, what should I have done?" Momo responded. As she raised her feet to let Yori ride by on the Roomba, Nana said, "Simple, really, don't worry about the enemy, but more importantly on your teammates." "Hi Nana," Yori said as she went by. "My teammates," Momo reiterated. "Yes, father always puts his friends and fellow heroes' safety first." Nana said, "Think about it, you all have seen what my father is like in any situation. As Momo was lost in thought, Nana concluded. Toshi threw an orange slice at Yaoyorozu's head, saying, "Hey Nana, think fast." Nana caught it before it could hit her, just as it was about to hit Momo. Also, make sure to expect the unexpected even if it means going off the offensive, Nana advised, passing the slice to the tall girl. Right, Momo said, taking the slice of orange. Returning to Momo. Now that I think about it, I remember what Midoriya said at the hospital that night before we went to save Bakugo. Yaoyorozu recalled what Midoriya had said. I'm hurt, but if I can still move at all, then I can't just sit still, I have to reach out and do something because all I can think about is saving, Midoriya stated. Momo looked at Shoji, Sue, and Jiro and said, he's right, I have to save them. She concluded by opening her costume to create something large. I have to forget about the exam and focus more on their safety, that all that matters, Momo said. As Shoji averted his gaze, Jiro cried in panic, whoa Momo, what are you doing? 4 headphones fell off Momo's body as she said, sorry, just bear with it for the moment. Jiro inquired, are those my headphones? Momo said, put them on quickly and stand back. She finished as a large object fell off her back. A speaker? Asked Jiro. Returning with Intelli. Intelli told her classmates, it's been more than 10 minutes, ladies. Time to storm the room. Yes man, the CI nodded as they began to use their abilities. Intelli thought, oh, how completely delightful, I wonder what I'll find inside, but her smile vanished as soon as she heard a loud sound wave. Intelli immediately shielded her ears, but the noise knocked her classmates out. Intelli questioned in agony, what is this, a sound attack? Jiro uttered the words, vibe check, while producing the loud sound wave with a gigantic amplifier. Thanks Yao Momo, these headphones help but the force is still rattling my body, Jiro replied. Hang in there, Sue, it's almost over, Shoji comforted her as, Ribbit, croaked in agony. It will be over in 7 more seconds, Momo said. After it was finished, Momo's team discovered that the girls were unconscious when they opened the doors. As she assisted Momo in leaving the room, Jiro remarked, rock on, we got them. Momo told them, now let's hit their targets and move on. Shoji used the phrase, got it, come on Sue, wake up, to try to rouse his classmate. Sue opened her eyes slightly to see a girl trying to grab Momo from behind the door while wearing a monocle. She swiftly wrapped her tongue around the girl's wrist and spit it out at her. What the? Intelli exclaimed as the pink appendage was encircling her arm. When the group turned around, Intelli was there. Curses, you used your quirk for offensive instead of defensive, which was a high-risk move, I can't believe Ua would choose such as message, said Intelli. Because my friend's safety is more important than some exam, Momo stated. According to Sue, which means we don't leave anyone behind, as she left Shoji's arms and rose to her feet. Jiro informed her, yeah, it's not how we roll. As she gave up, Psycho Intelli grinned and said, you have totally defeated me, Ua never lets you down. On a fictitious highway, Kaminari and Bakugo Kirishima were ascending a ladder. Kirishima said, hey Kaminari, good to see you tag along. Yeah, I saw you guys running so I just followed cause I didn't want to be left alone, said Kaminari to them. Shut up, shouted Bakugo. The loud mouth is asked by Kaminari, man, are you always on? As they arrived at the summit, Kirishima gave them advice, Bakugo, you really need to calm down. Besides, it looks like there are a lot of people up, so we need to team up. Bakugo declined, saying, go die. Kirishima continued to say, come on man. Kirishima shoved Bakugo aside and shouted, watch out. Kirishima was suddenly struck by something that flew away in the other direction. Kirishima, Kaminari shouted, concerned for his companion. As he fell into Senji Shishikura's blob-shaped hands, Kirishima muttered, damn it, what's going on? Kaminari looked at Shishikura and asked him in shock, oh man, did that really just happen? That bastard is dead, Bakugo said, grinning. With the Deku team. When his group spotted Midoriya alone in the clearing, one of the applicants called out, there's a Ua student. Get him, someone said as they took off. As he tricked the others, Midoriya thought, I hope Ochako's plan works. As she floated a bunch of rocks in the air with Ciro's tape holding them in place, Ochako told him, okay, everything is set, Ciro go let Deku know. Roger, Ciro said as he went to look for him. He wasn't entirely sure if the plan would work, but he had faith in both Uraraka and Midoriya. Midoriya, Uraraka says that her plan is ready, he told him, Got it, let's gather them together. Midoriya picked up Zero and leapt into the air after Zero noticed that Midoriya was actively luring the other school to them with his quirk. When they were all in their proper positions, someone exclaimed, "Hey, there they go." There, Uraraka thought as she uttered the word, "Release," and used the tape to drop the rocks on them. They struggled to get up after someone said, "Hey, watch out," but it was too late because the rocks had trapped them. "Is this tape?" someone asked. As she blushed at him, Midoriya complimented her, saying, "Okay, great job, Ochako." "Oh, it was nothing," Ochako waved it away. Returning to the highway, "I am from Shiketsu, where wear these hats because each and every one of our movements is crowned by our school's legacy. This is a demonstration, proof of the difference between my peers and you, Bakugo, because unlike you, we value obligation and dignity, things that you seem to be lacking," said Shishikura. "I think he just said he caught you lacking Bakugo," Kaminari said, laughing a little as he tried to piece together what he had said. Bakugo snarled, "Shut up. And you are the type of person I hate," he said, pointing to Shishikura with narrowed eyes. In reference to the kids he had previously seen with Ua, Shishikura remarked, "Funny how you have to be wrangler by 4 small children in order to keep you in place." Bakugo became irate and Kaminari remarked, "He must be referring to Midoriya's kids." Bakugo became even more enraged when Shishikura said, "Both of our schools have high respect for each other, and I take pride that our institution are treated as equals, but you are a shameful mark to UA. How did Ua ever let someone like you enter their hero course is a mystery beyond me," Bakugo said, sending his flesh towards them. Kaminari grumbled, "He's attacking again, and I don't want to be a meatball." Placing his hand on his palm, Bakugo yelled, "Shut up." AP shot auto cannon, Bakugo fired mini explosions at him. Stands at stadiums. Ms. Joke said, "Hey kids, you want some gum?" Aizawa responded, "I wouldn't trust it, it's probably a finger trap," as the children accepted the gun without being duped. Strawberry flavor," Aoi exclaimed while blowing out a tiny bubble. Toshi challenged her, blowing a larger bubble, saying, "You called that a bubble?" Yori gestured to the two, pointing to Nana blowing a larger bubble than theirs. As the bubble burst, Nana thought, "Amateurs," but she kept her face uncovered. Ms. Joke apologized while chewing her gum before realizing, "Yeah, sorry about my student for splitting them up." Aizawa said, "I hate how it's frustrating we can't tell who passes and fails in real time." Ms. Joke questioned in surprise, "Wait, Eraser, are you actually worried?" "There's something I realize after watching my students, in school and in the field, they may not realized it themselves, but in Class 1A, there are 2 Peo. 1, Nana said, interrupting Aizawa as she was chewing her gum, "Just one," while gazing at him. "Care to explain your reasoning?" was how Aizawa looked at her. "Well, it is true Bakugo fighting spirit is admirable, but to be called an inspiration isn't quite right. He's constantly yelling at people and looks down on those who are by his definition weaker than himself and will always try to pick a fight with those who are stronger than him. Heck, he still calls them by those awful nicknames," Nana said. "I say the only time he actually inspired someone was his cavalry team during the sports festival on aiming for the top. But if it's not just him aiming for the top as well, everyone else in the class are aiming for the top hero ranks, not just him. Plus, if you were watching at the beginning of the exam, majority of the class were following behind our father as they all have completed trust in him because of his actions and judgment," Nana said in reference to Midoriya. "Our father is the main inspiration of the class if you haven't noticed," Nana stated. "Out of everyone he's constantly working and improving himself. Sure, there be times when he loses, but he learns from them and moves on. He meddles when others don't need it, as you've seen him got Todoroki to use his fire, and he continues to fight on even if he's past his limits or broken. His words and actions inspired those around him. Father doesn't look down on anyone or calls them weak, because he knows that his class can become great heroes they want to be." Aizawa continued to stare at Nana. "It just sounds like you praise Midoriya far too much," Aizawa replied. "He's our father and our hero, of course," Nana said, grinning as she watched Bakugo transform into a meatball through her opera glasses. A disgusting form to match his disgusting personality, she thought. Aizawa gave him a piece of gum and chewed it, thinking it was minty. "Hey Joke, I'll take that gum," she said.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, bye bye.